Matthew chapter 25. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins, who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. The wise ones, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom! Come out to meet him!" Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out." "No," they replied. "There may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later the others also came. "Lord, Lord," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "Truly I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." Again, it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work, and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. "Master," he said, "you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more." His master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." The man with 2 bags of gold also came. "Master," he said, "you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more." His master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. "Master," he said, "I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you." His master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed? Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth."
All right, testing my sound real quick. Okay, I'm interrupting this just a little bit so they don't think I'm just scraping audio off, because I want to play the whole chapter. And I think we'll be okay. It's NIV, it's technically under copyright, but let's go ahead and finish. I mean, worst case scenario is I have to clip it after it's uploaded.
"When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was ill, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you ill or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was ill and in prison, and you did not look after me." They also will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or needing clothes, or ill, or in prison, and did not help you?" He will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me." Then they will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life.
All right. That was that passage, Matthew 25. How's my sound? Probably should do a little housekeeping first, huh? I see little green dots. Not too high, not too low. Not blowing anybody's ears out. Not too faint. Or all of the above, or something. Feel free to come on in. Feel free to talk about anything you want to talk about. Thank you, thank you. Good to see you too, Flavis. Yeah, this passage is one I used, I cited in my, my little, I guess you'd call it a eulogy at my mother's funeral, was Matthew 25. Probably applied it in ways that people aren't typically, it's used more often than not in sermons. It's used as a, more on the heavy-handed side with the, the parts where it talks about judgment, which is fine. It's perfectly valid. But in my mother's case, she was a remarkable person when you consider from where she started and how she gave of herself in her life. She was one of those faithful servants who took what she was given and invested it well. I think it's a really interesting passage because it works. It's as a chapter, it's got 3 sequences, I guess you'd say, or 3 vignettes. The first one is the parable of the virgins. Some were prepared, some weren't, for the inevitabilities of life. Then you had the second sequence, which is second parable, which is a parable of the talents, of course, to multiply what they're given. The other one, out of fear, buries it, what he's given, and earns his master's wrath. The third is the last passage that we just heard, and where it talks about what you have or haven't done for the least of these, you've done for me, Jesus says. Which it doesn't seem like so much a parable, does it? It's more of a, I think it's more about, maybe it's a bow on the first two. I can't imagine that he actually taught this in a sequence. I guess he could have. I mean, it's told like that he actually is. This is like a teaching scenario, and he just starts to teach, and he starts to talk, and here's one story, here's another story, and then at the end, I think what he's saying with that is how to be prepared, how to be, how to stay alert and be prepared for what's coming, and how to invest your life. Invest your life by giving generously. And that was very much the case of my mother. Had to go to another funeral today. This time it was of her sister-in-law. So it's another person who came from difficulty, and it was a very nice service. I think it was a good summation, expression of love from her family to her, and she had, in the case of, in contrast to my mother, I mean, both she and her sister-in-law, they were both married to Parker men, unfortunately, poor things, and they both only had 2 children, but while my mom only saw 3 grandchildren, this other side of the family went crazy, man. They had a bunch of grandkids, and then great grandkids. So I think there were a couple. Yes, there were at least 2 that I know of, minimum, at least 2 great grandchildren for this lady, who was actually a little younger than my mom. And challenging life. But she did well. It was conducted in a very aspiring. It's not really a big church. It projected big church energy and vibe. Very polished in a certain way, and the minister. The minister took the opportunity to take big swipes at the Catholics at the end, at a funeral. Okay, whatever. And said, the kind of mock the idea of sainthood in the Catholic Church. And then I guess one of his little catchphrases that sticks in my mind, in reality, he talked about what are real saints. You're either a saint or you're an ain't. I'm guessing Luke Thompson would have something to say about that. And I felt at that point I wanted to get out of the room, because I really felt like it was a unfortunate way to close what was an otherwise lovely service. But preachers got to preach. Pessimism is rejection of God. Maybe it's just a mood. Certainly, come on in. Come on in, Brett. There's no point to this. My body wanted a nap. So I decided I'm going to push through. There's another. Is this guy Perot? This guy, because I didn't catch that. I recognized the voice, but I didn't recognize the actor, and that makes a lot of sense. So, is he the original Perot? that showed up on Masterpiece Theater and all that sort of thing? Or is he somebody else? Was it a different? There were a whole series. Now I only knew it through Masterpiece Theater. I'm sure it was BBC or something, right? Here's another good one. Let's remove. While I wait for other people to come on, because I have this one, this other passage in mind. Ecclesiastes 3 came to mind today. Share screen. Let's hit play.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. God does it so that people will fear him. Whatever is has already been, and whatever will be has been before, and God will call the past to account. And I saw something else under the sun. In the place of judgment, wickedness was there. In the place of justice, wickedness was there. I said to myself, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there will be a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. I also said to myself, as for humans, God tests them, so that they may see that they are like the animals. Surely the fate of human beings is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. Humans have no advantage over animals. Everything is meaningless. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and to dust all return. Who knows if the human spirit rises upward, and if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better for a person than to enjoy their work, because that is their lot. For who can bring them to see what will happen after them?
All right. I don't think I've not deleted any of your, so I'm not sure. So feel free to come on in, Claire. Isn't that neat? That's an interesting passage, isn't it? We probably should read it more often. Particularly when people get doomerish in the corner. Need to go back to Ecclesiastes 3. See, right now, that NIV version was very easy to listen to. King James, reads a little more poetically, but is it as clear? Listening to the minister today, I'm a little confused. I suppose, if anybody wants to come in and talk to me and tell me what you think the gospel is. Because this very evangelical minister had a very, seemed to me a very narrow understanding of what the significance of Jesus's life was. Someone is at the door. Welcome, Claire Caw. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Mark. My condolences for your bereavement. I wasn't referring to you actually. I was referring to Brett, who has a tendency to delete my comments.
Oh, okay. Well,
and,
just
and my
consider.
yes,
Just write more of them.
yes, I do. I redouble my efforts and I curate my comments but
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, my latest theme is, moral convictions, and I suppose I don't think people understand them. And I've got into quite an interesting debate with AL um, about these things because I think fundamentally we don't really question ourselves. I mean, I'm talking about funerals. I remember there was a bit of a family quarrel when my grandmother died, about whether it should be Christian or Buddhist, because there was a question mark about her having converted to Christianity, probably nagged by my aunt, and so she made a kind of a fuss, and I suppose we don't really. I mean, we can take hold of our funerals and plan them, years in advance. And I went to a funeral earlier this year, and there was this Catholic friend of mine saying, "Well, I've attended, I've arranged my funeral, and it will be a Catholic one." And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. And then he started telling stories about people who didn't make their will, and one of them was, in fact, a solicitor of inheritance law. So, and then I later discovered at the wake that he didn't even believe in God, though he was a Catholic, but he was only Catholic by culture. And so he gave this great exposition of, well, on the one hand God could exist, but on the other hand probably he didn't. And I thought that was one of my more interesting experiences with Christians who but with Catholics in particular, because I also know a Catholic in Australia who said, well, you could be Catholic and you could be Marxist and you could be Catholic and you could be atheist, and and all kinds of things. And he was another lawyer. So I suppose people should be a little firmer about what they really believe and what they're only culturally affiliated to, in my opinion, for their own sakes, really. Because if we don't know what we believe and why, we're not making the best of our religion, if we have any. What do you think, Mark? Oh, I can't hear you.
Myself. There we go.
Yes, I think you muted yourself.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're really not in control of our funerals. Ultimately it's the family who decides. I don't know how binding a will actually is. I suppose if a lawyer's in charge of its execution and of the planning of the funeral, then I suppose it'll be followed more meticulously. But
Mm.
these things tend to be for the family more than they are for the departed. Um,
Indeed. Yes.
and that's would probably be my my wishes for my kids to go do what makes you feel good. I don't
Yes.
need any special ceremonies to send me off. I'll be just fine. Even though, I mean, Buddhists can become very extravagant in their procedures,
Yeah.
um, uh, because they have a concept of the mind that sees it as having lingering in a sense, for a number of days, depending on Tibetan Buddhism and the
Mm-hmm.
lineage, but other forms of Buddhism similarly. So there's a lot of meditations and mantras and whatnot to be performed, for a proper Buddhist funeral. Um, Catholics, can be. I mean, it depends on what era. Modern Catholics, I'm sure, have a very different view than medieval Catholics did. You know,
Yes.
about hallowed ground and where the body should be and how. I mean, they're very different. There's a monastery somewhere in is it somewhere in Italy that's basically it's not the monastery, but it's a, chapel, I think, constructed entirely of the bones of monks. At least lined, the walls are lined, and all the,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is a really interesting. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's been a long time since I've looked at it online, but, um, these are people. They the whole idea of reliquary, right? It's that, bones and whatnot have special powers. So Catholicism has a lot of strange ideas too, that are strange to modernity anyway.
Yes, I suppose that these are, relics and tokens of the deceased. Um, but I suppose you could own your funeral by saying, to anybody who will listen, I will have a Catholic funeral or a Buddhist funeral or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and I suppose and I'm going to have it because I paid for it in my will, and you better respect it and
Sure. Yeah,
all that kind
and they
of thing.
will. They'll follow your wishes. If you were, I suppose, my mother made some advanced planning, but there was nothing about the service part of it. But they would have, the chapel or whatever it is, the memorial people
Mhm.
would have happily provided everything she wanted, I suppose, to whatever degree of
Mm,
detail she offered. But in the end, she just chose the casket and, allocated a certain amount of funds for flowers and,
mhm,
the location of where it's to go and all that sort of thing.
mm.
But, it's not. It wasn't. It's not. Certainly not a Catholic mortuary.
Yes,
Um,
I mean, I find the modern funeral sort of more about the guests. Um, sorry, the mourners. I should say the mourners, and 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 there seems to be more the modern funeral anyway, more about the eulogy. So that there's a sort of I don't know if I did go to one that some years ago, and it was all about elegant speeches about how wonderful the deceased was. But
mhm.
perhaps that might be preferable. And there's always a sort of inappropriate playing of, I did it my way, or you can't always
Yeah,
have what
yeah.
you want. And
That's true. Yes, weddings have become the same way. Unless you're
yeah,
very traditional, um, both weddings and funerals tend to be very individualistic or individualized, a unique expression of somebody's aesthetics.
well, yeah. So years ago, I did go to this funeral of this sort of friend of my late husband, and for some it was a modern funeral, so the widow was in, I just remembered her red shoes, I do, and her floral skirt, and I I suppose it didn't sit well with me, and then she fainted, when the coffin was being borne away, and I thought that there was something, more dignified about a widow in widow's weeds painting than a woman in a floral dress and in red shoes. But I suppose it was a kind of modern way of showing defiance of death and everything. But and nowadays some people ask, what do you expect me to wear? Proper funeral attire or ordinary clothes, and these days I suppose people don't even ask anymore.
Well, yeah, it's like today's funeral. There was a lot of black worn by the family, as well as even in the right after the there was a kind of memorial service. It wasn't there wasn't any kind of conventional funeral. It was very similar to my mom's setup in the sense that it was more of a celebration of a life rather than, because there was no casket, no presence of the body. That had
Oh,
already been done with.
yes.
In my case, in my mom's case, we did a graveside. Then right after the graveside, we went over to the church, which was just a couple miles away, and had the memorial service, or we called it a celebration of life. And in my case, I intentionally avoided black. I didn't feel like it quite made sense under the circumstances. I wore a white shirt,
Hmm.
which in some cultures actually is
It's a funeral wear. Yes,
Mhm.
white. Hmm.
Which seemed, and I'm glad I did, because the black is very heavy, and it was even in the reception at the one today, the
Mm.
tablecloths were black and the napkins were black, and
Oh
it
gosh,
was it was
okay.
very, yeah, it was a bit, it was very
Yes,
black.
too much. Yes.
um but I
Mm.
think the death was very different. The death for my aunt was relatively sudden. She'd lived a very vibrant life, had been involved with her family. She had, she was unaffected by dementia. Um, she 80, 82, I think. So
Hmm.
and then in the last couple of years, got cancer, and that was just laid into her. It was a very rare and very painful form of cancer.
Hmm.
And I think they felt the pain of her loss. They were mourning because even the way she died was even more sudden than the cancer, because she died ultimately of a blow to the head from a fall.
Right.
Um, so, in my case, this was we had years to mourn. So we had kind of been exhausted ourselves with that, and it was a
Mm.
let go, and we're happy that you're free of this. And I mean, not happy is probably the wrong word, but it's not something to, it was just a different vibe. But
Well, yes, yes.
very different vibe.
Yes, because if it's a young deceased person, you get a very good turnout. But I guess if it's an old deceased person, that there's hardly anybody there at all, kind of thing. Usually, that there's a sort of difference in attendance, and of course when you choose to have the funeral, and the ones at the weekends are more expensive than the ones that you have during, the week, and
Mm.
all these,
I didn't know that.
considerations. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and I suppose, well, to be relevant to people who are not perhaps experiencing a bereavement, um, I, I don't know what you think of, formulating our own epitaphs and our own particular readings of, yeah, at our own funerals.
Yeah, I probably
Perhaps
wouldn't.
later
I would.
life.
Yeah, the thing, I guess what I would like would be would my I don't think I have to worry about this with my family, but I don't want anybody to use my death as an opportunity to, as a church growth event. Let's add to our numbers, because I got a captive audience here. If anything, I would hope people, um, if there's enough there to reflect upon, that I hope my life represents an openness to the adventure of living and dying. I really don't. My metaphysics still, as have said many, many, many times, tends to be more Buddhist than it is Christian.
Mm-hmm.
There's no really beginning or end of this thing, and so.
So you believe in reincarnation? Is that what you're saying?
Believe in it? It would probably believe would be a. I would say it. I'd say it. Just say it makes sense to me.
Well, yes. So did it make sense to me? And then I discovered that ultra Orthodox Jews also believe in reincarnation.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, and I think they're just supposed to believe that, there is an afterlife where good will be rewarded and evil punished, and as long as they believe in that, that's part of whatever principle of Judaism it is, that God punishes evil and rewards good, and if you believe that in whatever form, reincarnation, heaven or hell, then you're kosher, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I really am not thrilled about making firm declarations about things we can only speculate upon. But because I also, I mean, I also have faith in Christ, and and a trust in the teachings of Jesus in a way that makes me different from a typical Buddhist. And I don't think that. I think both can live to a degree of harmony within because
they can both exist.
They can kind of both, yes. They don't necessarily have to contradict each other. They only contradict each other when advocates for one side or the other decide to debate. When the apologists come at it and say we're going to try to dominate the room, and then what they end up doing is just expressing
argue
opinions
about
that
something
could be
that possibly know.
Yes, exactly. To me, it just, I think, just the fact that we know in physics that you can't create or destroy energy. That just,
it just changes into a different form.
Exactly. And so to me, that just seems like a perfect kind of physical analog of a spiritual truth. And it can be. I mean, you don't have to believe that, but it makes sense. If that's the way it is in this, with this stuff, then why does it not make sense for the mind, for consciousness? And so I got someone knocking.
Well, could I run?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to run this idea by you, which is that the three categories of afterlife, and it's heaven, hell, and purgatory, and purgatory is the center for reincarnation. So so that would be the biggest.
How do you know you're not already in it, right?
No, the thing is, for reincarnation, the people who believe in it, well, they don't go to heaven, or most of them think, well, we just come back again, and to learn the lessons that we didn't learn before, and so we don't, we're briefly in that department, and then they send us back down to, live out our next life. But it is still the busiest department because very few people, maybe get to heaven first time, and maybe we I think that the Hindus and Buddhists believe that anyway. That the Buddhists have this idea of a bodhisattva, right? And he or she is a person who's already got there but comes back to help others, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I there's a lot to talk about there. Of course, it's just speculation, and it's we do the best we can to my view of Jesus. People, because I think people who listen to what I say about reincarnation or Buddhism will tend to think of that as an undermining of my faith in Jesus. My faith in Jesus tends to be like, I'll follow you wherever you go. Just tell me what to do and where to go and how to do it, and I'll do it. That's kind of my attitude. So, I mean, I don't know how you could be more Christian than that. But apparently a lot of people think there are other ways to be a Christian. But as far as the metaphysics of life, I mean, so much of what's called Christian metaphysics tends to be more of a Western cultural phenomenon rather than anything that really can be discerned from Scripture, because there's so many views from Scripture, so many different contradicting views, and like I said, I just don't want my death to be used as leverage for a preacher to try to grow his congregation. It just really would make me upset. How you guys doing?
Was the funeral you went to, was the pastor the same church you used to go to?
No, it's a completely different church, different denomination. Very, probably, if anything, probably a little reformed. It's a community church.
Did he have a bow tie?
No, he's one of these new hipster types. He was not young, but he dressed young. My wife laughed. He's like my age, probably. A little younger, probably. A little younger. But kind of dressed in a tightly tailored, modern cut suit. Black shirt, black tie, but was wearing a silver cross. So he's kind of leaning into the orthobro thing, little silver cross, looking a little conservative. He wasn't wearing a collar, but you're looking really closely and thinking, is he wearing a collar? Because it took a minute for me to see that. So
Do you think he was a Presbyterian or a Lutheran?
No, I don't think. Like I said, if just
Reformed Baptist.
Yeah, probably something more like that. Maybe a little charismatic. It's so hard to tell with these community churches. These evangelical, the big screen, the music. I
was like
the guitar,
trying to guess somebody's denomination just by their physiognomy.
Yeah, well, and there are no symbols. It was a symbol-free. There wasn't even a cross.
Okay.
There wasn't even a cross
So
in the sanctuary.
maybe Baptist. It sounds like he was a little too rigorous to be a Pentecostal.
Yeah, wasn't open Pentecostal. No, definitely not Pentecostal. Not Pentecostal. But definitely felt the need to, after mocking the Catholic concepts, mischaracterizing and then mocking what he mischaracterized with regard to Catholic ideas about sainthood, he then went on to say that if you want to be a real saint, you got to, I'm going to summarize it poorly, trust in Jesus as your Lord and Savior, something like that.
I feel like those types of jokes, which I used to hear when I was younger, it's like they're not going to fly anymore because of the internet. It's like you can disagree with someone, but to just like make fun of somebody's religion like that, like it's not like how it used to be, to where it's this insulated thing and people just agree with you.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't. You wouldn't. Not very estuary-esque. I don't think he would survive long on a Luke stream.
Well, it's crazy because you can go to the live tab at the top of the YouTube page, just see what's live.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always like these theological debates going on.
Yes.
And it's just, I mean, every now and then, it's like I have a couple channels that I watch, but they're like very respectful and they're smart, Yes. There's channels where people are just yelling at each other. And it's like, who wants to watch this, man? It's insane, just insulting each other. I went on one and this guy, I just like typed in a couple comments and he just started going off on me. I wasn't even disagreeing with anything he said. He just hated my comments, It was funny. But and because I'm used to the friendliness of the TLC, and it's like, well, maybe this is kind of a unique thing,
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, it definitely. Well, it's certainly not. A lot of Christian YouTube is not what the TLC is. I mean, certainly. What is it? There's a guy. What is his name? He's fairly prominent. He's got like a 500,000 subscriber channel, and he just did a video. I actually posted it on my. I actually shared it on a private chat. But he just did like a 15-minute bit, basically grifting for donations, because he said that Claire might get a kick out of this one. He said the Muslims are after him, and he's got to move his family. And basically, he's pissed off one lone, off-hinged character, and is decided. But this guy goes after everybody. He did a whole thing about why attacking the Mormons while telling a Mormon that he's not Christian, and then he goes off on saying Islam is a religion of violence or something like that, and he's surprised he upset an unhinged personality. It's like, I'm like thinking, you drop a hammer on your toe, it's going to hurt. But it doesn't mean, and he says, but the way he's pitching for donations, he's saying, the Mormons are after me. They're terrorizing my wife and my family.
Mormons?
Or not the Mormons. Flip it. Sorry. Is Muslims. He was saying the Muslims are attacking.
That would be so funny if the Mormons were
Mormon terrorists. We'll kill you with kindness. We're going to bicycle over to your place.
The Mormons are like, actually, they're, anyway, never mind. They're nothing. I'll shut my mouth.
Mark is a fanboy for Rage Bader. No, I just find this guy's one of those Christian apologist types. 500,000 people, 500,000 subscribers is no small deal. What is that? 10 times Paul Vanderklay's channel? 11 times?
Mark, you're leaving Church of Christ for Catholic Church. There's this guy named In Between Sundays. He's a Church of Christ YouTuber, and he debates Trent Horn. And they also go to the same. They go to the same jujitsu class, so like they'll have a conversation and then wrestle, like literally wrestle afterwards. So, yeah.
No, that's pretty funny. Trent Horn. I mean, see, Trent Horn makes. I can't watch Trent Horn. I can't. I mean, I know. I'm not. I mean, I find all of these people who want us to be so certain about things we can't possibly be certain about, and just if anything, I don't have the energy to even argue. Like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, as a kid, I'd come across somebody who'd say something stupid from a pulpit, and I'd corner them and take them on. I just don't have energy for it. I'm like going, all right, whatever, man. You've got your audience. It makes, what the important thing to me was a situation like this is that he did the job that the family hired him to do. And I believe that they were happy with it. And so that's good enough, but it's not my style. I don't even know I don't even know what people mean when they talk about the gospel. I don't even know what they think they're talking about, because it doesn't jive with the gospel when Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That denies the gospel.
In the gospel.
Yeah, gospel is the good news. What is the good news? The good news is the kingdom of God is here. And if you've it's complicated. It's interesting that the 4 accounts of Christ's life are called gospels. Well, these 4 accounts cannot be summarized in a catchphrase or an elevator pitch. They're many words long. And in fact, Luke's gospel is really it's a two-parter. It's Luke Acts. So it's a narrative. So which is the gospel? Is the gospel the account of Jesus' life, or the or the Acts of the Apostles, or both.
Can I try to sum it up in one sentence?
You certainly can try.
Okay, the gospel is the belief that Jesus Christ came to earth, died for our sins, rose from the grave, offers eternal life to all who believe in him in this life and the next.
That's it.
What do you mean by the word belief?
It's one sentence, bro.
Don't make me define my terms.
Well,
that's
belief.
fair.
I mean belief. Belief.
And what do you do
like,
with it?
Well, you know, everybody loves to say that belief is more than just like an accepting of propositions. Like people love to say that nowadays, right? But that also is belief. Like accepting that the reality, or accepting the story of the death, burial, and resurrection, first of all, and then trusting that it applies to you.
Mm-hmm.
And like James says, faith without works is dead. So like belief is an active
I know, but you're out of your one
mindset.
sentence.
Well, I know, but you asked an additional question.
Just pick
Belief is exactly what we all think it means.
Well, but you've got to put meat on the bones, I think. And I think, well, and that's but anyway, I don't want to. I want to open it up to Brett, but first let me real quickly say it. So the threat is fake. No, the threat we're talking about the guy, the one crazy person,
Michael
allegedly
Jones.
terrifying the YouTuber. I don't think he's. No, I mean you could be terrorized. I mean, how many horror movies have been, or crime thrillers have been written about one deranged individual terrorizing others?
I think the irony is that they proved his point, though.
Well, this one individual, but see, you can do that with anybody. I mean, you know.
Can you?
Oh, absolutely. Look at. I think
there's a lot of Muslims being threatened and doxxed with their children and wife.
I don't know if that's. You don't have to draw perfect equivalence. You know, you don't have necessarily that. Okay, let's say that. But there are a lot of Muslims dying who don't deserve to die. If you wanted to talk about Muslims in Gaza, you wanted to talk about Muslims in Iran, you want to talk about Muslims in Iraq before that. I would say in terms of the death tolls, the United States, Western culture, Western power has killed many more Muslims than Muslims have killed Westerners in this century alone.
So he brought it on himself for this guy to threaten his wife and kids.
Well, but see, I'm just saying, he provoked. You make yourself a target,
and it's his fault.
Okay, well, okay, it's the same thing. People. Yeah, it's blaming the victim. Am I blaming the victim? No, I'm just saying he's grifting for money. Why? If you, here's what I do. I tell you where I live, pretty much. I'm not hard to find. Redlands, California. Mark D. Parker, my full name. If you want to hold me to account for what I say, here I am. I'm not going to move. Send me a scary envelope with powder in it. Make threatening emails or texts or whatever. I'll probably block you. If it's criminal, if it appears to be criminal or to be a criminal threat, I may follow the procedures to report it. I may even take steps to get a court order, restraint order or something. but I'm not going to turn to my audience, which is just more. It's more entertainment, it seems to me. We're part. The grift is part of the LARP. It's like we're going to. We're. This is all part of the big show. So I'm created. I set into motion events that fuel the drama, that entertain the audience, that drives the grift. This is my concern, and this is how I see it. The fact that it's very predictable. If you say certain provocative things, you're going to upset certain kinds of personalities. I could say there'll be Christians out there I could upset very much. I could say some horrible things about Catholicism and get some very nasty responses. I could do the same thing with certain kinds of other Christians. I know for a fact I could get curses poured up on me by Pentecostals if I said certain things.
So if you were to do that, and we in the TLC decided to help fund you to move, would you be considered
I would say I would never
grifting?
do it. I would say I would never. I would never do it. I wouldn't offer. I wouldn't ask. I wouldn't accept it. If you gave me my money, I would. If you gave me the money to move, I'd give it to somebody else. I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't need it. I wouldn't want it. Because one, I'm a man. I'm going to stand up.
Well, I don't
the
think I know his
consequences of my decisions.
intentions. I don't think I know his intentions, but I think that the people genuinely that did donate felt that they considered him a pseudo friend. And I mean, you could say that he was taking advantage of them, but I don't know his heart, you know?
No.
I mean, I don't know.
McDonald's sells hamburgers to make money. Actually, they get their vendors, their franchisees to sell hamburgers so that they can pay rent on their real estate. So probably a bad analogy, but it's all.
Hey, back to
all goes to plan.
back to the definition of belief. I read this on one of our streams. It's primarily defined. This is in the 1828 American Dictionary, English language. It's primarily defined as having a firm persuasion of truth based on evidence, testimony, or deduction rather than personal knowledge.
Well, here's the question. Is belief the actual right English word for the word pistis, which is most commonly the term that's being translated there in Scripture?
Well, I could look that
pistis,
up for you if you want.
Pistis is generally
That's also faith,
interpreted.
right?
Go ahead, Mark. Did you say something?
Isn't that word also interpreted, translated as faith?
Trust, faith. It has, but I think it implies. See, I don't. When I think belief, there was actually Nathan. What's his name? Craig. There was a recent debate between William Craig.
William Lane Craig.
William Lane Craig. Thank you. The middle name was I was forgetting it. Sabine Hassenfelder, right? Slavoj Žižek and Rowan Williams. And it was on, it used to be Justin Brierley's old network. And they set up a little debate about something about God, belief in God or something like that. And
did you watch that?
I didn't. I listened to part of it, but I haven't. I've only listened to about a third of it, maybe.
Yeah, I started it. I probably won't get far, even though.
Can you speak up more into your phone or something, Mark?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I watched a little bit of it, but probably won't finish. I find Žižek pretty entertaining to listen to.
I like Žižek. Sabine seemed absolutely bored and bewildered why she was even there. but my point was William Lane Craig did say something about belief, and he did bring up the fact that pistis is, I don't know if he brought up the Greek word itself, but said that the term is more like belief in, I believe in my dentist was his metaphor, his analogy.
Yeah, he was trying to explain it to somebody that wasn't getting it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so to believe, it's to believe, belief, the pistos is to believe, trust, or entrust, and then it goes into theological stuff.
Almost always the word is interchangeable. You could easily just take out the word believe and place in it trust, and you'd be faithful to the original.
When I came on this
Yeah,
stream, you were talking
that's fine by
about
me
how,
too.
Mark, you were talking about how, you adopt Buddhist metaphysics because Christian metaphysics are unclear, and I agree and disagree, but I think that's something I've noticed lately. Like, been studying a little bit and learning. It's like, even, and then with these, it's the same thing with these words because they're ancient words, but
Yes.
at the same time, I fully believe that the Bible is God, and so I think there's some design to that to make us kind of search for it, you know.
Well, and they're ancient
Yeah.
ancient words from ancient cultures. I mean, and there's a lot of distance between us and them, and so it's. I just think we should tread softly. And certain America loves to pack American culture. It's almost inbred in us. I mean, we're indoctrinated in the idea that we need to sell things, some things up in a way that is sellable, that can be delivered quickly with a punch, right? And because we are a mercantilistic country and culture, and this is just who we are. And if you can't say it easily and quickly with power, and that's usually translated as economic power, it's kind of like useless. And I think Scripture resists that. However
Yeah, it's kind
hard.
of like, when I ask Google AI to summarize in one sentence what Kant's book is about or something. Like what did Kant believe? Tell me in one sentence. That's all I have. That's all I have time for.
Yeah.
But I feel like the words, and because just the most basic things in the Bible, some of them are just so unclear. Like, what are demons? We don't know. Everybody has all these opinions, and demons are really popular right now. But we still don't know. Nobody convinces me that they know what they really are. And like questions like that, they are very vague, and I almost find that reassuring. Like, we just need to keep going into it and pondering it.
Why do you think people find it easier to believe in demons than they do believe in God? Because I find people who have no faith in God whatsoever, no faith in the teachings of Christ whatsoever, but boy, do they believe in demons and ghosts and curses and witchcraft and all the rest.
That's a good question. Well, for one thing, witchcraft, demons, and ghosts don't have any like spiritual requirements of you.
Very good.
I mean, they don't really
Trust.
It's not, yeah, it's not really about good and bad. It's just pure. It's just pure woo. And I was reading "Surprised by Joy" by C.S. Lewis, and he was talking about how when you get into like the supernatural stuff like that, like occult and ghosts and etc., it almost becomes like an addiction. That people that are into that, like, they can't think about anything else. And I've been there. Like, I used to like religiously listen to this spooky podcast that came out every single day. and like stuff like, and it was weird. So, and there's a difference, I think. I mean, I just view that stuff as being of the world or of the flesh, even though it is supernatural. Like, it's still of the flesh to a certain degree. I don't know, because it's all just like emotion, and it's like I kind of feel that like horror is it's like the other side of the coin of porn. It's like the same thing. It's why like crime, it's why true crime is so popular, because people like to just think of the most scariest weird thing. And because I don't know, I have a bunch of things I've thought about this, but yeah, it just taps into this. It's almost like if you're I don't want to make a bunch of assumptions, but if you're focused on all this stuff, it's a drug almost, so you don't have to deal with the flesh, like material. I feel like God wants you to deal with dirt. You know? Like God wants you to like count the money you have and go to work with your hands.
Could some forms of Christian religion obsess over the kind of hellfire and brimstone Baptist religion I was raised around? Every Sunday was hellfire and brimstone. It strikes me as what you described as a similar fascination with the occult. It's not thought of in those terms because it's wrapped in a Christian veneer, but why would you say, when Paul says, set your minds on these things,
Yeah.
which are very light in comparison, but you set your mind
I think
on
those people already knew the message, and I feel like today people don't know the message. It's like we all want to think of ourselves as being actually pretty good, and it's almost like the attempt to give people a wake-up call that you're not as good as you think you are, and that you need a savior, and there is one, and he did something for you. So if you're leaning too heavy on the fire and brimstone and not giving the solution, that's a problem. Yeah.
Well, I suppose if how heavily you lean into the substitutionary atonement theory, I guess, or actually an interpretation of that, because you have to go beyond, because I think you can still believe in the substitutionary atonement, but you still have the problem of what am I to do with this new life in Christ.
Substitutionary atonement, there's nothing to do.
Well, see,
You're
I
not
would
supposed to do anything.
James would say there's much to do.
James was talking to Jews that thought they could get into heaven just because they were Jews and they knew Jesus. That's who he was talking to.
He was talking to Christians.
He was talking to Jews that he was literally battling people that felt like their heritage was the reason why they were good to go.
All right, I'm gonna look this up. Well, I'm gonna I'll give you.
Show me your faith without works is dead. That's what he was dealing with. Paul was dealing with something completely different in Galatians.
All right, let's give Neil. Neil's in the house. That's just a rare privilege. I get Neil to come on this. Welcome to my channel, Neil.
It's not that rare. It's been a while, Mark, but it's not.
It's been a while since I've done any live streams. I mean, other than I walked my dog. I tried live streaming while I walked my dog, and I can't remember what other thing I was doing. I did try doing a live stream. James 1 opens like this. Usually that's where to whom it's addressed. This is how we usually figure out. James, a servant of God and the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes scattered among the nations, greetings. So it's a literalistic interpretation of that first verse. Could be a score for Brett.
You
But
know where
the
he was.
question
Who
is,
he's. You know who
but
he. You know where he was in charge, right?
yes,
He was
Jerusalem.
in charge
Yeah,
of Jerusalem. Yeah. So
yeah, of course. Now, do you believe he
yeah,
was the brother of Jesus? Do you believe he was the cousin? Or you have a different
doesn't
theory?
matter. I do believe he was the brother, but I don't think it matters.
Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. This is a modern translation. Yes, New International. Whenever you see brothers and sisters, you know it's a modern translation. Not that I'm against it, just saying. Whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. See, the only thing that might make you think that he's actually talking to unconverted Jews is that second line in verse 1. Everything else seems to, because we go right into faith, which seems to imply back to a trust in Jesus Christ. Of course, you have to try to understand when we don't. I don't think we have a good historical understanding of the condition of the Jerusalem church at this time. We only have bits and pieces. And
Where you at, Neil? Where you at on this?
I just think about the world totally differently. I just saw the Odyssey today. So, you know, I think about the conventional hero is, if I live my life according to nature, I'm going to try to always get what I want at all times. I'm going to strive to get or here's a less selfish way of putting it. I'm going to strive to do what I'm going to strive to get what is right in my eyes. I'm going to strive to get what is right in my eyes. You know, the idea of the Christian heroicism, I don't know. You can only have Christian heroes when the arena is going badly, so to speak. You know, I'm
The literal arena, right? Like the lions.
Yeah. Well, there's that too. We're not there yet. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think of history now in terms of waves, and I don't think we can really fight against the waves per se, as we can try to discern what God wants us to, how God wants us to surf or wade or go with the things that we're faced with or struggling with. So on one hand, like, we could bemoan this time in history as like we had the last 200 years, we had a really good run of modernity. Like, we had a really good run. Like, life expectancy improved, antibiotics worked, child mortality dropped. Like, we had democratic institutions. Like, we had we had a really good run.
Depending on where you were in the world.
But I would even say the
could,
world had a good run. Like, I would.
Okay.
So name a part of the world that you think is worse today than 200 years ago.
Native American culture.
Wisconsin.
The Native American peoples suffered their death blows in North America anyway in the last 200 years. From 1800 to today, they almost pushed
What do
back.
you imagine?
They have more safety and autonomy today.
Yeah, what do you
They-
imagine their life was like before Christopher Columbus landed? What do you think that looked like?
What do you think it looked like for people who lived in Europe during Christopher Columbus's lifetime? I mean, life
Well,
was just
that's
as
my
pathetic.
point.
Life was pathetic for Europeans in 1348 when the Black Death landed, and it
Yeah,
wiped out 30 to 50% of the population of Europe, and it was you could say it was before it. If anything, the Native Americans probably were doing better. I mean, consider what the Aztec capital was. Some are thinking that it was possibly the largest or one of the largest cities on the planet before when the Spaniards arrived. So it was not a. I mean, it was a by our standards a strange barbaric culture because of the human sacrifice and the religion. On the other hand, a guy like Christopher Hitchens would say that religion ruins everything. So you can't necessarily blame that on the entire Aztec culture. But I don't want to interrupt your point, Neil. Yeah. Okay. Let's just without debating
Well,
your
it's
case.
something like this. It's like
We've been on the ascendancy, and now it's
yeah.
stalled.
Well, I think we've had this assumption that like things that like we're in this part of history where things only now get better, and that was not the case at any other time in history ever, where things only got better. So
Right.
actually, what the interesting thing about the Odyssey is that it takes the stories from Homer take place before the what is it called? It's like Mycenaean Greece. There's a collapse. They don't know what caused the collapse. So there's like 200 or 300 years of Greek Dark Ages before Socrates and what we think of ancient Greece, and that is the time of Homer. But the stories come from 200 or 300 years prior to that.
Right. Well,
Bronze Age collapse.
Homer is on the upswing out of the Bronze Age collapse.
Yeah.
Greek.
So I don't know. Like I try not to assume where in the story I am, but the one thing I have realized is like if we're on a downward swing in the waves of history, that is actually the time when there's opportunity. And there's not opportunity to like stop the wave per se, but there's opportunity in planting the new seeds or like figuring out what the new is going to be after that wave recedes. So yeah. So that's basically where I am now. It's like I do have a sense of how the wave could recede, but I think we have much longer to go before that wave is done. And the wave is something like individualism taken to its logical conclusion, where where individualism just dies out because it's not sustainable across generations. Like we have to hit a point where the generations that continue are sustainable, where like there's sustainable culture and they're having children and families and etc. And so it'll yeah. So I don't know if that'll be 40 years. I don't know if it'll be 100 years. I don't know if and I also don't know if it'll be like a smaller size. Like maybe the size of a country is too large, and maybe in order to have a sustainable unit, it has to be smaller. But I don't know what that means in terms of like a German identity, an Irish identity, an American identity.
Isn't larger more resilient?
Was
like,
the
for example,
USSR more resilient? Like the thing about the US, so the USSR is a really interesting point, because I don't think the people in Kazakhstan identified more as Soviet citizens than they did as Kazakhs. I don't think the people in Ukraine well, actually, the Ukraine's an interesting example because some of them are Russians. But the point is, like, they those groups identified more with their local, like Estonia or Latvia or Lithuania. They identified more with their local. We don't have that in the U.S. though, because like there are a few states where maybe that's the case. Like Texas has a strong kind of sub identity within the U.S. But Louisiana, it's New Orleans does have that identity. New
I'm just
Orleans does
thinking
have like,
more in terms of
Yeah.
like diversification of a portfolio. Like the more diversified your portfolio, more insulated you are from the vagaries of the market. Because the market is always, it's very much a one side goes up and that forces another down and vice versa, and things move forward, and sometimes they aren't even connected, but generally when there's trouble in some part of the world, say the value of the dollar goes up, just the idea, it's just break it down to agriculture. If you can only if we say we only grew wheat in one location on the planet, and that was Iowa or whatever, I don't think whatever they grow in Iowa, but say they only grew wheat in Iowa, there's nowhere else to
Corn.
get it, but you
They grow corn
had a
in Iowa.
terrible, say what, Mark?
They grow corn in Iowa.
They grow
Yeah,
corn.
I know. I'm butchering it, but
Lots
play
of it.
along. The fact that you can get wheat, if with say with in a globalized market where wheat can travel around the world, it really doesn't matter if you have a drought in one part of the world that say destroys or a pestilence that destroys the wheat crop or the orange crop or whatever you're growing. The fact that you can get it from other parts of the world that will then come in, and it may raise the value, raise the price of wheat or oranges or whatever, but there'll never be a famine under say a very large diversified network of producers, because you get plenty. Usually when there's a drought in one area, there's more water in another, and so this is what I mean by scale. Scale size gives us a little more, as opposed to say we were all on Easter Island, right? And once you've cut down the last tree, what are you going to use for, you're out of trees.
Well,
and there's nowhere else to get them because
I think that's true when it
on
comes
Easter
to
Island.
things like physical goods. I think that is true when it comes to physical goods and resources. The problem is that we now all care about the same things, meaning that we've got less diversity in what we care about. The whole world as an eye of Sauron is focused on Israel, Palestine, or Ukraine, Russia, or US, Iran. The whole world has put their care into certain things like financial markets. So because we've vested all of our care into the same crap, when that crap changes, it affects everything. It affects everyone. So it's really those that have divested from the cares of everyone else that are actually the most diverse and protected and insulated when those things go awry. So what I mean by that is like someone who is homesteading and is not invested in the stock market. When world stocks altogether, like in the Great Depression, but now we're way more interconnected. When world stocks take a plunge, the person who's homesteading is not concerned about that. To some extent, we're all affected by oil prices now because it's an interconnected global market. So when oil goes up anywhere, it goes up everywhere. Now the U.S. is better situated than the vast majority of the world. But the thing is, it is a domino effect. So like when the first country that can't pay its bills due to an aging population either prints money or goes bankrupt, then what's going to happen to the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth?
Well, we're being accused of having jumped the shark and not making any sense. So what are we talking about now?
I'm talking about interconnected dependency of care.
Okay.
Yeah. So if something that many people care about, I mean,
well, you mentioned Ukraine, Russia.
Mhm.
And the world's very divided on Ukraine, Russia. We don't see it because on our side it seems it's very lopsided. Our support for Ukraine
Mhm.
is generally, most Americans, most Westerners are looking at Ukraine as the victim. I would say rightly so, but a lot of people disagree. And those people live in China, they live in Russia, of course. They may live in I don't know what Indians think about if they think about it at all, the
Indians love
Ukraine-Russia
Israel.
conflict. Say again, Mark?
Indians love Israel.
Okay.
There's like that's a meme online that for
Oh,
some
okay.
reason Indian people just love Israel. So I would guess they would probably love Ukraine then, because Israel and Ukraine isn't that kind of the same thing?
Okay. Well, and they are in their biggest well, other than Pakistan, China is their runner-up for long-term competitor. So yeah, I guess
they're
they
with us.
probably.
They're on our
We
side.
know North Koreans.
This is the funniest. This is the funniest take I've seen from you, Rob.
Who are we talking
Columbus was following Morse trade. He knew where he was going, and he passed Cuba. His journal stated Moors were giving Islamic call to prayer in the hills. What? Oh, dude.
I've never had Ken Doll on my channel. Who's Ken Doll? Ken Dolly?
It's Rob.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Rob.
What I'm saying is I don't think we're actually diversified. I think we're less diversified as a planet.
No, I agree. We're worse now than we've been in a long time.
Yeah. So when I say a wave, it when the rich sneeze, the poor get
pneumonia.
Yeah.
So bring it back to faith. What's the see heroic? I like the idea of heroic action or heroic faith. What's the heroic posture in uncertain circumstances? Having just seen the Odyssey.
I have to project my care in a different way than everyone else. Meaning I have to care about what God wants for me and what God wants ultimately versus what I want for the world or what I want for myself, which is hard. But that's meant to be in tension. You know, the right tension is what I would hope for and what I feel God is moving towards. Yeah. And the presumption that unless I play God's game, he's going to write me a part that I don't want to play. Meaning if I try to do something to get what I want or do it my way, I don't know. Yeah, this is more of an intuition on my part. What Judas wanted, what Judas really wanted, like more than anything, is like a strong, stable, free state of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what Judas wanted. He wanted justice in Israel.
We think.
Yeah.
We don't. There's not a lot to run on there, but we have to kind of fill in the blanks. It's as good a guess as any.
And it's like he didn't know that 35 years later, you know, like 3/4 of the country and the people were dead and completely gone and wiped out. And it's like, but like nobody cares about that now. Is my point. Like people care about Ukraine and all this, but like nobody cares that at this point in history 3/4 died and God was fine with that. I mean, most people would say that, well, I can't believe in the God that would allow that to happen. And it's like, I understand, but like, it doesn't help to not believe in that God, because you're still in that world, whether you like it or not. So then really the choice is like, do you stop the argumentation with God? Do you stop the wrestling with God? Or do you continue and you allow yourself to be trained and humbled and tormented? Like, one thing that gives me a lot of blessed assurance, I'll say, is that like St. Paul was extremely tormented. Like, the more I read Paul in his letters, it's like, this is a guy who was suffering continuously. Like, he was just, it's like always suffering. And like, that gives me a lot of hope, because like, how do I, like what I'm saying is that I like believing in a God who allows that level of suffering, because although I cannot see how that God makes the suffering worthwhile and right, although I'm too short-sighted to really see the fullness of that suffering, it does somehow, and this is a leap of faith, this is like intuition, it does somehow give me a sense that like my way of seeing the world is like insufficient. And it does take the full scope of injustice in the world into account. Like, it really contends with the full injustice. And yeah, anyway, put it that way.
Dude, I love Claire's comment right here. She's
Last
one
one?
of the greatest posters. What's
This one?
Neil's position on anything? He just wants to lecture us and say God a lot. He won't even tell us what he thought of the movie.
Okay. The
What'd you think of the
movie was a B. I give it a B. It's not
What?
terrible.
That's not bad.
It's
That's not bad.
not great. My favorite scene was Odysseus. I'm going to do a spoiler. My favorite scene was Odysseus's dog that's waiting for him on a shit pile. It's literally a shit pile outside of their house. And the dog it's like 20 years old. The dog is on its last legs. And Odysseus finally comes to him, and the dog like whimpers, but like is so grateful to see his master. And then the dog dies in the shit pile. And I love that scene. It's beautiful. And then Odysseus, like, like basically the dog dies knowing his master has returned. And that's like the Holy Spirit basically handing off to Odysseus, like, welcome home. And yeah, it's good. It's a great scene. That one scene was my favorite. The holy dog.
B
So with all
plus
this
you gave it,
suffering,
Neil?
go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
B plus, you said?
no, but just a B.
Okay.
Just a B.
All right.
Yeah, it was long and drawn out, and some of the dialogue was forced, and there's not really any character that I can
Like
really
all of
like.
Homer. All of Homer is long.
Yeah.
The dialogue is a little forced.
Yeah, no. I mean, as a movie, I think it was a pretty good adaptation. I really do, and I think he did I think he did a very good job of blending it with blending the adaptation with modern circumstances. I think he did a really good job.
Oh, don't do that on me.
You
So
know,
with all
the
this
Odyssey,
suffering-
the Odyssey is one big Jungian individuation story. Like, the Iliad is an Arenic story. The Iliad is Arenic, and the Odyssey is about one man like going through. If you know anything about Jung and like drawing mandalas, and the mandalas are like the different phases of the individuation, and like basically every character in the Odyssey is part of Odysseus.
Mm-hmm.
Like every character is like representative of something he's regretting, or so. Like a cyclops. What a cyclops is representative of is the very powerful, single-minded man that cannot think of anything else but one thing. Like, so that's lust, or that's greed, or that, that's what the cyclops is.
Do you consider Odin a cyclops? Because he
No.
voluntarily poked out one of his eyes.
No, I don't think so. I
So
don't
what
know
do you
enough
guys
about
think
Odin.
of this passage from, I'm going to interrupt. What do you guys think of this passage from Ecclesiastes 3, verse 12? I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live. That to me is a pretty heroic stance in the face of the circumstances you described, Neil.
But why?
To be happy in persecution. In fact, talking about Paul.
Yeah.
And talking about Jesus himself, there's teachings from the take the Beatitudes in chapter 5 of Matthew. It's be happy.
One of the most sticky things for me that I ever heard in the corner
I was looking at verse 19 there.
was when one time I think it was somebody quoting G.K. Chesterton, but I could be totally wrong, and that maybe somebody never said this, but the hidden joy
17.
of Christ.
17?
Like they were talking
Yeah.
about the hidden joy of Christ, and I mean, you know, like you see this man of sorrows, but was Christ actually full of joy as the Son of God, his days on earth? And
The
and
mirth.
I guess the answer would be yes. You know, like he must have been bursting with joy knowing that he was going to win. You know, but he just couldn't share that with people in a full way because he had to let them see it for themselves. And so in the meantime he was just confusing to them. But he was actually bursting with like he had to, and then that's kind of a way I've been looking at the Gospels sometimes. It's like, because I used to view Jesus as this guy that's just mad, you know, sometimes. But actually he's like he's full of joy possibly.
So I used to run track and cross country in high school, and maybe I'm able to think about it like, if you think about eternity and you think about this life and you think about the life that we're in as a race, where if I don't actually give it my all, if I do less than my all, after the race is done, like I'm fine taking a breather and resting, and like, you know, like worrying or thinking, yeah, like worrying about that. But while I'm in the race, like it's not worth like worrying about the race. You know, like while I'm in it, and like, is it possible to think of all of life that way? Like I'm in it, so if I'm in it, I might as well like be in it. Like I'm gonna play the role that's presented to me to the best of my darn ability, and I'm not gonna make it worse, and I'm gonna try to do my darndest to cooperate with the one that for some strange reason I trust, and I do. But then like after the race is over, then it's like I can sort of, you know, then I can rest and I can maybe complain to God and be like, hey, wait, what about this part? I didn't like that part. But he's like, dude, like you were given that race. Don't you see? Don't you see you were given that race? Like for a specific purpose, because you were meant to play that part in that race. Like, and it's like, oh, okay. All right. Like I'll have a conversation later. I don't need to figure out the exact race I'm in now.
I suppose.
I got to
Neil,
respond to Claire.
Neil,
I thought she
Claire
played her
has
part
more
well.
criticism of you here.
Yeah,
you're talking
I
about-
thought she played her part really well. I don't know if it was the same actress. I think it was the same actress who played both her and her twin sister. And
She really doesn't care.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta read between the lines unless you're just being a good
Well,
sport.
I think she's talking about the controversy of the casting choice. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, summer months, it's hard for
and-
Claire to earn her commission for her activities, so she's got to amp it up.
I
On
don't
the
quite
payroll of
understand.
at least
I don't
one
understand.
government. We don't
all
know
the-
which government, but at least one.
I don't understand why the movie's getting so much hate. I mean, if it is a bad movie, perhaps it's a bad movie. It's kind of turning into the movie of the summer, though. We don't have very many of those these days.
Yeah, lots
It's
of people
unusual for
talking about it.
a movie to take over the summer like this. It's been
I think it's
it's not Star Wars level, but it's a big movie for.
I think it's a litmus test for how people see themselves in relation to our culture. So it's almost like a mirror that kind of reflects back whatever you want to see in the thing, you know.
I think some of the upset about race. Oh, bye, Mark. Some of the upset about Helen. I mean, I just literally saw. She's famous. historian of the Roman Empire. I just saw her earlier. Let me see if I can get her name before I continue. Yes, Mary Beard. Mary Beard was pointing out that the Greece, the Greek world that Homer's describing is before the Bronze Age collapse, and it was actually a very, by its standards, it was not globalized, but it was certainly a very interconnected period. That and so Ethiopians were in contact with Greeks and Hittites and Egyptians and Mesopotamians, and they were actively trading even daughters for wed, right, to royal houses. So it's very possible that, in her opinion, that the idea that a Helen, first she says Helen is a fictional character. She says, so we're not talking history here, but she kind of implies that my problem with the movie isn't the casting choice of a black actress playing Helen. She has other arguments with Christopher Nolan, but in that world where you had empires of the day kings trading their daughters as a means of diplomacy, that they weren't a racially isolated people, the Greeks.
I thought
And
it was
only the
funny.
collapse kind of crunched the culture. Go ahead, Brett.
I was just thinking about the Odyssey. I think the funniest part in this whole conversation that's all over the internet and that people can't stop talking about is the controversy. I feel like it was funny how Jonathan Peugeot went from loving it to hating it, and then the right and the left attacked him equally, right? Well, apparently, maybe there was.
When
some
did he
more
love it?
right
I missed the
that,
part where he said he loved it. Did he love
yeah,
it?
he did three. Yeah, he did three episodes. The first one, he said it was horrible. The second one, he said, "This is the greatest thing ever." Essentially, I'm summing him up. And then, but the first time he got attacked for saying he hated it by the left. Then when he said he loved it, he got attacked by the right. So then he had a third one, and he was pointing all this out, that everybody's attacking him. He said the right was a lot more brutal. and then the third one, he tried to spin Nolan as a master magician because of all the stuff that he's done in the past. I think Matt C had 2 episodes talking about it, and the whole idea of him being the magician, or the turn. I heard that, the turn in the what's the name of the magician movie, Neil?
The Prestige.
The Prestige. So there's the turn, like that was one of the 3 steps in the magician thing, the illusion, like here's the trick, ta-da, but then there's a turn that makes you go wow, and it's like, so like his whole idea was that he was playing. I thought it was funny because he actually talked about Ellen Page as being her playing a dude that should never have been fighting in the first place, was a symbol, like Nolan was signaling
He could have been
that this is because of her own controversy, right? Like, so I'm signaling that this is,
and here's the thing:
the man that shouldn't even be in battle, that wasn't even considered a man in the movie. He's this helpless warrior.
Well, and is it? But see, the thing is that just clever marketing on his part?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he certainly has gotten people talking, and he's getting people to watch his movie.
I guess. I like that young people are talking about the Odyssey. Sorry, go ahead.
To me, it felt more like early 2000s, where race just didn't matter that much. At least it did not feel to me at any point in the movie that race was an important factor. I think that's probably what he intended, because I long for that time. I don't know if we'll get there again anytime soon, but I long for the time where it just didn't matter. Yeah. So
Yeah,
But haven't you ever
well,
been let? Go ahead. Sorry, Paul. Go
no,
ahead.
I was just
Mark.
going to point out that the casting choices. I don't know if you guys have kept track of modern productions of Shakespeare, but this seemed very much in line with what we see in the last 50 years of modern productions, really since the 1970s and on, with Shakespeare, that they've and to the betterment. I think generally speaking, it's much easier and much more enjoyable to watch modern productions of Shakespeare because they are less stuffy, less rigid, less Eurocentric. At the risk of being woke, Ken Dolly, that it's I think it's okay because you're taking a text that is so. I mean, to me, trying to put it into a movie would be daunting. I know there's lots of action and stuff, but there's a reason why there hasn't been a really great movie made out of Homer yet. Because it kind of it defies the literalism of film, and there's so much more what makes it interesting is not necessarily the action, the fifth grade level stuff, and Shakespeare is similar. And so breaking rules by any means necessary kind of can help convey the message, or the deeper messages. I don't know if you guys agree, but his choices just made me go like, oh, I've seen this 1,000 times. Just with Shakespeare.
I mean, I think if he was trying to, like, there's lots of movies where they try to shock you with cast selection and like deliberately, like to try to reframe you. But then there's people that go to a movie and they're looking for believing they're there and believing the whole story is real. And I'm sure he achieved that with a lot of people, that don't get bogged down into all the illusion, the controversy stuff. But I guess my only critique would be, I guess it's probably just because I personally don't find the actress that played Helen attractive, and it has nothing to do with her race. I just don't find her attractive, And so I think that if you're going to cast somebody that literally had two kingdoms, two kings, one stealing, or I guess the new interpretation was she was abducted, but whatever the case may be, right? That, like, what makes her so precious is her beauty, was supposedly, right? And so I don't know. I just don't know that I would. It's harder to, like, I always used to use the example that the difference of a man and a woman, it's like a man can go to battle and fight to the death, but let him see a woman cry and it just breaks his heart, right? There's something about when a man sees a woman cry. I mean, and so there's something about that dynamic in a man. So the idea of a man wanting to take an entire population to war over a woman, I can buy that, right? Like, I can buy that storyline, but I feel like the beauty aspect to me would have been a little more. But again, I'm obviously biased. I mean, if I'm not attracted to her for whatever the reason, but
See, I read it. I read it differently. So Helen in the movie plays a broken woman. Like, she is broken by 10 years of blood and death that was spilled on her behalf. And so I would expect the beauty has faded. You know, the beauty has died along with all those men that have faded and died as a result. Like she is broken inside. Now, even more
Okay.
importantly, I think, even more importantly, is I think she is symbolic of like the treasure of the West, of like the spirit of the West, like Lady Liberty, like we must free Lady Liberty, you know, and so this movie plays with overtones and undertones of the fading West, of fading civilization. I can even read some quotes to you
No,
that I
I
jotted
get
down
it
in the
because
movie.
he literally forced all the actors to speak in English, in American, like to speak
Yeah, so
American dialect.
I jotted down quotes in no particular order. Everyone is talking about the threat from the sea. Another quote, civilization is collapsing. Another quote, Zeus's law is collapsing. And then so it equates Zeus's law with civilization. And Zeus's law is the golden rule, and it means treat others the way you want to be treated. And yeah, and civilization will rise again, a new dawn will break over a darkened world. Yeah, so there's, she's sort of symbolic of like the hope in the jewel, the fading crown of civilization. That's
So
how I
you
read it,
think that
and that yeah.
so this broken woman
Mhm.
who is broken
Mhm.
is worth stealing and bringing her back to your kingdom.
So they even say in the movie that it was a pretext. It was an excuse for Agamemnon to launch the war he wanted to control the Aegean. Because what he really wanted is the wealth of trade routes. And so she was the excuse, the pretext. There's another famous in history, Attila the Hun was waiting for a pretext to invade Rome. And there was this Roman princess who was like forcibly put in a convent, who like wrote to Attila to be like, free me, please. And Attila's like, there's my pretext. Now I'm justified to invade Rome. Having a
And
pretext for something like, yeah,
wasn't
go
he
ahead.
the brother? Wasn't he the brother? Agamemnon of the guy's wife. It wasn't his wife, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was the brother. So like the way I read that, and now you might think that I'm reading too much into it, but I don't think so. The way I read it is something like the beauty and the majesty of the art and the culture of Western civilization, like everything from the Beatles to uh, like everything, right? Just how beautiful Western civilization is. But what it was really all about was making money. It was captivating people by Hollywood, by the music, by TV in order to make money. And so you have this shining jewel that is the reason that civilization exists, but then in the end it's corrupted and warped and destroyed. Yeah.
I just pulled this up because I think of when you think of a modern Helen, it's like Patty Boyd with was George Harrison and Eric Clapton. She was a character that just destroyed. She did nothing to destroy these, but she just was like she was this object to
They
be
fought after her.
possessed. They
Let me
and
ask
they
you though,
and
do you always think it's a possession thing though? Because I really wonder. I think that usually when a woman's getting fought over, it seems to me, whether she's involved in the thing or not, it seems that there's always one dude that really does love her. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like there's usually one. I'm not saying both do. I'm just saying, you know, like, you know, I mean, I remember back in the day, I've been on both sides of that coin.
Mhm.
You know, not necessarily trying to steal somebody's girl, but I mean, I've been on the side of the coin where I didn't care as much for her, you know. Yeah, it just seems that's how it always has been in how I've always seen it, especially when I've even witnessed two guys fighting over it. It's like there always seemed to be like one guy didn't really care, and that's what kind of, I guess, created the friction. Usually he was a bad boy, you know, like it seemed like in most cases the girl liked the bad boy and then the nice kid, and this was like this back and forth, you know, and she was playing both dudes, but it isn't always that case. I get that. But I don't know the story with Clapton and
Yeah, it's
McCartney.
Clapton and George Harrison. George Harrison.
George Harrison.
And George Harrison was the husband who Clapton. Clapton and
remember
Harrison
that.
were best friends.
That's right. I
Okay.
remember that. Wasn't that
Clapton
why
was
he
the
wrote that
obsessive of the
song?
two. Yeah, Layla. Yeah, it's
He-
yeah.
How did that song go?
Oh no, I'm not good with
It,
60s
that was
lyrics. Or,
I've got to get going, but it was good catching up, Mark.
all right,
And
thanks, Neil.
I'm not shunning you.
well, Mark's not on all the time, so it's not
Yeah,
like
that's
you have
what
that
I
many
mean.
opportunities.
No, I haven't been on very much lately, so no,
Yeah.
that's good to see you. Good to have you around.
Good to see
Hope
you
your
too, Brett.
family's doing well.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Good.
So appreciate it.
And you, okay, we'll talk more later. Have a good night.
Talk to you soon. You too.
See you,
Bye-bye.
Neil.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Brett.
No, it's you're talking. I mean, seems like you're probably right. Well, it just is the Trojan story, right? There's an obsessive, and you know whatever. There's an obsessive male personality that the object of his obsession is more an excuse to act out than it is true love. I mean, Eric Clapton definitely it was he was obsessed with Pattie Boyd, and maybe Clapton was able ultimately to seduce or win, I guess you could say, win Boyd over with his kind of mad love. And it was a totally destructive relationship, as I understand it. It didn't last very long after they got together. It was pretty
Isn't that crazy?
pretty
And that's the
faded.
other
He
thing.
fought tooth and nail to have her, and then when he had her, he destroyed the relationship essentially.
You want what you can't have. It's funny. It seems also weird that sometimes the battle is for the sake of the battle, or whether it be reputation. Like I just look like a chump because this girl that I like is liking this other guy, and so it's like it spurs it on, and it creates the fight. And like you said, let's say you win the girl, and then it's like, well, I was actually just looking for the fight, you know.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really want the girl.
But the
You know?
girl, the strange thing is the girl in the case of the Beatles and Clapton, it certainly, you could say it didn't inspire a war, but it certainly inspired a lot of music for a period of time. It was, I don't know. But yeah, but I've had people say, just like you said, I didn't find the actress that was chosen to play Helen necessarily all that attractive. And I've heard exactly the same thing from people who were Beatles fans or Clapton fans of the day saying the same thing about Boyd. I don't know what he saw in her or what all the big deal was, all the hubbub. I don't get it, you know? And,
Yeah.
And she's lovely. She's a lovely person. I don't know, but
isn't it interesting though? All that, whether it's beauty, love, whatever, jealousy, the fight, whatever, all that misery sparked awesome music. So that pain,
incredible music,
generated stuff that is that would have never been there without the emotional anguish. Isn't it the artist's Isn't that how all artists usually have to? It's like if they're not in pain, it's I don't know if that's a trope for artists or not, but
Well, it seems like there's a. I mean, but I think I see even in some of our recent live streams, like some of your live streams and Scott's live streams. There's a lot of talk about. Scott was recently talked a lot about suffering. I mean, it's. I can't remember the remember in too much detail. I don't remember if you were on that live stream when Scott said, "Hey, am I driving? Do I got his name right? Scott, right? That's
yep,
Scott. Am
that's
I
Scott.
driving to Scott? Okay." He said something along the line that he feels like his calling is to remind people about the necessity of suffering in the Christian life, and I don't know if I'm probably am not summarizing him well, to be fair. He's not here to express it. But that's kind of what I heard. And that suffering can be productive, but it can also be destructive. And how do we, like you said, all of that suffering was both, right? With Harrison and Clapton, they produced all this music, but boy, was there a lot of wreckage at home as a result. Now, I don't think the Harrisons, that is George and Boyd, ever produced children. In fact, I don't even know if Patty Boyd ever had children. Did she? I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Funny. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's having a Christian life has helped me deal with all of it. So like when I have a good when I'm in a good place in life, the immense gratitude for being blessed in that situation in that time, and then when I'm in pain, I still realize how grateful I actually still need to be, because the more important things are what I'm grateful for, not the material or you know what I mean, like when things were real good or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to go on really nice vacations and things like that. So like I'm enjoying the opportunity to be blessed, but I'm also learning how to live with very little now, and it's been like that for a while for me. I've had I haven't had great jobs for a while, and so it's been a learning experience, and I think my big things and my big turn back to the Bible was I was tired of investing in people, and I was tired of investing in things and putting too much hope in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, maybe this is my upbringing in church, whatever, but I just said, you know what, there's only one thing worth investing in, and to me it was Christ. And it was like, so there was this special moment, like kind of like a aha moment, that I can't go wrong if I just seek after him and don't care about all this other crap. And then whatever happens, happens. And it's been painful, man. I mean, it's like, it's not been an easy, I've had to watch, like my family suffer, like it's because I used to really financially provide for them. And then when all of a sudden the money train was done, it was like, man, now I felt this burden to not be able to help them the way that I did, you know? And it was like, and so watching them have to scale back, you know what I mean? So then it was like the self-judgment part, like having to go through that process of being okay with the fact that they love me, they're going to be fine. They don't care about those things. That's not what they care about. However, it's like I want to be able to do more for them, you know? I want to, and I
Mm-hmm.
care about them, So it's like you feel like you're letting them down, even though that's not the truth. So then, leaning into Christ over the past few years, I've probably had more compliments by them about how proud they are of me than ever I did when I was making all that money.
Hmm.
And that's kind of cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, even in the anguish, there's this weird, and they're not just saying it to make me feel good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, my life is changed for the better, you know, and primarily it's that they see, you know, my, you know, like they love seeing me so active in the church. They love seeing me have a lot of friends at the church, getting involved in the seminary and stuff like that. They're proud of me with that. They just like, they can see that my face, my way, everything has changed about me, you know. And I think that that to them means more than the other stuff. And I think that's been the blessing through that. But it's like orientation, right? It's like proper viewing of the misery you're going through. Are you going to focus on that forever, or are you going to look at the little glimmers of beauty that you've invested in? And in my case, I feel like I've done more investing in Christ, but in by proxy, I've gotten friendships through the church, and I've gotten friendships through school and even online, you know, like finding the TLC and having conversations and relationships, building relationships online. Like we had that one stream about friendships. You know, what does it mean? You know, like I'm not the most likable guy in the world. I'm a little bristly.
Mhm.
So anybody that I enjoy that can enjoy a conversation with me is to me a blessing.
Ken Dolly, just so you know, thank you for sharing, Brett. I just need to address this real quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't say anything about the beauty of Lupita. I don't know if I can Nyong'o.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know if
guess
I
if
can
you don't
pronounce
find
her.
her, if I guess if you don't
I
find
don't
her
have a problem.
attractive,
I actually find her very
you think
attractive,
she's
but
ugly.
I didn't know who she was, frankly, until recently, and I looked her up and I went, "Oh, I could see that. I would see why you would pick that." One of the things with beauty, extraordinary beauties, usually are a little. They're almost always, great models. Yeah, you have a few that are kind of your almost ideal Barbie doll type of beauties, right? They're just perfect beyond comprehension, but they're not the most interesting ones. The most interesting ones usually have some distinct, pronounced feature that borders on the
What was
off-putting,
wasn't like
but yet,
Raquel Welch with a big gap in her teeth or something like that?
yeah,
Somebody
oh yeah,
had
you always
that.
have some, yeah, well, yeah, that's probably a good analogy. There are a lot of that. I don't know what he's responding to there. Maybe he's responding to you saying you
Well,
didn't think she was pretty.
I had said that, and I think you had said
I was quoting you
you weren't
maybe back or
you weren't
something.
attracted to her per se, but I mean
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's all personal preference.
well,
It doesn't mean I'm a
attraction.
bigot.
Yes, yeah, it's attraction. Who the thing that in terms of just stupid raw attraction, of course, I think didn't they choose for Penelope? What's her name?
Oh, the what Tom Cruise's girl? That's who you're talking about, right? Tom Cruise was with her for a while.
Was it maybe? But I don't think of her
Is
as
it
with.
Penelope Cruz? No.
No. The one who played. Let me see here. Cast.
Oh,
Odyssey.
Penelope and the Odyssey. My bad.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
see.
I forgot her name.
I pull it right up here. Why can't I? Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I mean, but I'm an old cisgendered white dude, man. Anne Hathaway. It's like yes, but um, but I have no I don't I'm
I do have a type. I mean, I'm not going to dispute that, but I have dated all nationalities. It was kind of like I really didn't care. You know what I mean? So it's not like, but I have a type, like, an like there's certain women that will walk by, and it makes me double take, like, oh, and it's like it's always the same type.
That's funny. Yeah,
Some
I'm
pe-
the I'm
some people
I'm
like
pretty.
brunettes, some people like blondes, some people like redheads, whatever.
I'm too old to take any of that seriously at this point, because I'm just like, I've been with the same woman for 35 years. I just I think there's a part of me that says I think these guys who are picky about women are just blind, because I just see so many beautiful women all the time, and I'm like going, what are you guys complaining about?
Yeah,
But
I never was very
it's like
choosy
the
in that regard.
golden. Yeah, I feel like we're living in the golden age of of female beauty, and you're not even paying attention. But uh, but whatever. People are strange. I think when you get older, though, you can see beauty where you didn't before, if you allow yourself to. You can kind of go, oh yeah, I can see that.
I'm
On the other hand,
microaggression.
say again.
Ken says I've got microaggression
Oh, he's accusing
because
you of having microaggression.
yeah, he says I'm being subtle with my innuendos. That's all right. He does this all the time.
Um, okay, yeah, I don't even know this person, so that's fine. I don't think I've interacted with him before. I think that, yeah, I mean, if you're trying to jar the audience with an extraordinary beauty of a character, you're depicting a character who's created a catastrophe, right? Who is at least attributed as the motivating force behind the terrible actions of men. To choose someone who's very unexpected. The Anne Hathaway, if you say a young Anne Hathaway, might have been a cliched choice, right, for the casting director. But to go with this other actress who's unexpected, is kind of coming, and as I understand it, she doesn't have a big role in the movie. She's not on very much.
She plays apparently two parts. She plays her twin
that's
sister also.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, the problem is we're talking about a movie I've not seen, so I'm struggling here. But
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense to me to go in that direction as opposed to going in a predictable direction.
I guess to Rob's point, it's like, did a certain group of the population, and I don't necessarily think it's always about race, but when Hamlet came out, there was a deliberate attempt to flip everything on its head, right? So like,
which Hamlet are we talking about?
The one where wasn't it the musical, the big one that just came out?
Oh,
but because
Hamlet.
Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, like, because Hamilton obviously was a white dude and they casted a black dude, it flipped everything on its head.
Mm-hmm.
But it was part of a prestige for a group of people that were gonna think that was an awesome movie, and so at the end of the day, though, and actually he pointed out Cale Zeldin. Cale identified there's going to be two types of people that are going to go to movies. There's going to be a person that's going to kind of, in their own mind, want it to be more historically accurate as best as possible to be believable, and there's going to be people that are going to go and appreciate whatever the art that's put out and however it's put together and look deeper, right? So I don't think you can fault one side over another necessarily, but Cale did make a funny point about that this, even the original Homer wasn't the original story. Apparently this story was written before Homer even wrote it. It's just Homer wrote it. That was the first time I ever heard that. I was like, whoa. Everybody's complaining about the story that they chose, which was the 2017 version from Emily Watson of Homer, which was more female centric. And they were pissed about that. But then, like, you're arguing over a story that isn't even a story from the original story. It's just the one that everybody fell in love with. You know?
I don't know enough about it to say.
Well, you have to watch that. It's unfortunately it's a 3-hour podcast. Kale and Steve go into it, and they're real smart guys, so they have like a really good, interesting take on the whole shenanigans of it all.
Yeah. I mean, it's Kale at least teaches. I mean, it's just kind of his bread and butter. So he works in what he calls great books, right?
He literally teaches the Homer or the Odyssey.
Right.
That's one of his, I guess, classes
So he should
does. Or
know quite a bit about it.
Yeah.
At least be fluent in the text that I'm in a way that I'm not.
Well, I was listening to him talk about how he went to the movie and he was sitting there. He had to literally force himself to not be critical about the original, the Homer that he teaches, or the Odyssey he teaches, and and so like he was trying to be flexible with the art. He kept trying to check himself in the movie, like when he'd go, like that. That's not how it went down, and then he'd just calm down.
Well, that's the problem that's the problem with all movies and translating them from literature. You're always stuck with
your imagination.
Why are you upset with somebody making a choice that, a choice had to be made, right? A choice had to be made going this way or that way with the story, or you've got to, when you're translating something like that, you're making 1,000 different decisions that could go in any different direction, and each decision impacts the others, and so you've got to me it seems like a nightmare project. I mean,
to me, the way I look at it is that if you're trying to sit here and first of all, it's such a beloved poem, right? And it's epic. And so,
well, it's beloved by a pretty niche audience at this point, right? It's like much of the story is embedded in the culture, but most people have not read the epic.
Yeah. That's a great point. I guess I mean that that there's going to be an audience that is never going to meet their imagination.
There's a passionate cult who are going to be all over you for not making their choices.
But there'll be a small window that you just nail it with.
Yeah, you're right. It's
like
not
Troy. When I watched Troy, it was like
yes.
I personally wasn't going there to get historical accuracy. I kind of knew I was going to watch an entertainment piece. It was going to be just to entertain me, and they were using the backdrop to tell a totally different story. Now, the only thing I kind of have a hard time with is when they use the actual name of the book. So like Troy wasn't the name of the book, but they were telling a different story. I mentioned this Flowers of Algernon, right? Great book. Mm-hmm. They did The Lawnmower Man. It was, so like the idea is you're not calling it by the actual book name. You're kind of doing what do they call it? Allegory. You're kind of playing on the inspiration, but not, but like Troy was more explicit, but it wasn't saying the Iliad or the Odyssey or, what I mean?
Right.
He wasn't using it as a marketing tool. So I felt like all of it's like you said before, it's all marketing. It was probably all
Well, and how much do we? I mean, we know more about Troy than we probably ever have over the last since. I mean, at any time over the last 2,000 years, and we still probably know very little. I think somebody just
Yeah.
pointed out, yeah. Ken Dahl just said historians don't agree on the actual location of Troy. There's a lot still to be learned.
Yeah.
So if I mean, I guess you could make a story about the Trojan War without. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I know I remember seeing the movie, and I remember I didn't. I never. It is odd that they chose not to call it the Iliad, but call it Troy. That's the one we're talking about. The one with Brad Pitt, right?
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought it was okay. There's for some weird reason when Brad Pitt didn't he used his very American accent in the movie, and for some reason, just hearing maybe it's because his voice is so distinctive, and I knew his voice so well. He plays Achilles, as I believe, right. He's Achilles,
Yeah.
and talking with his very American accent as Achilles just never took. I was never transported.
That's a great
On
point, because for a
on
lot of
the
people that love Brad Pitt, that guy could do no wrong.
right,
You know what I mean?
right. But
So,
it's very much like
he could have.
having Marlon Brando play Achilles or something. I'd have the same problem.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, Marlon Brando. I mean, he's a weird dude, and I would never do some of the things he did on film, but I admired him as an actor, and I admire his work to this day. I think he's a great actor, but maybe I would probably have a similar problem with him. But flip it around, there's the guy who played Alexander the Great in Oliver Stone's Alexander movie, and he's the Irish actor. A couple guys played brilliant. There were some really brilliant performances in that movie. Let me pull up their names, make sure they're on the tip of my tongue, but because I'm old and tired.
Yeah. Am I right? Am I right? The Iliad was the war. The Odyssey was the trip back, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So what they did, I heard in the movie, is they did a lot of the like flashbacking with the storyline in order to try to encompass the things they wanted to, shoot. And they obviously
yeah.
didn't shoot everything. Yeah.
But okay, Colin Farrell, but he's an Irishman and he has a different accent. And maybe that change, maybe would land differently for an Irishman than it did for me. But for me, Colin Farrell as Alexander worked better for me than Brad Pitt as Achilles. Angelina Jolie. Now she did use she did play with her voice a bit, her accent as his mother. Anthony Hopkins, of course, could play anything. He plays Ptolemy. Rosario Dawson. Now, Rosario Dawson, that was a really interesting choice, and she was a virtual unknown at the time, and she plays. A kind of fictional character, but again, it was a brilliant performance. The one that really caught me off guard. Let me see. The one who plays Philip, King Philip, Alexander's father. You'll know the name as soon as I find it here. Why can't I find it? Come on, dude. Who played Philip? If anybody knows in the hive mind, put it out there. Philip and Alexander. Oliver Stone's Alexander. Why am I not? Oh, Val Kilmer. It's right there. Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
That ghost. You can probably find clips of it on YouTube. Val Kilmer as Alexander, or not as Alexander's father, Philip, King Philip, was haunting, absolutely haunting. I know. So there's a period piece, and it's actually more of a historical work than it is based on an epic poem. But if I had been in who am I to tell Christopher Nolan anything? But I would be like, that would be the movie. Oliver Stone's Alexander. I'd at least look at it real closely to see what worked there, and then try to duplicate some of that in my Homeric epic, because Stone and those actors figured something out that failed in the Troy movie you mentioned with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, comparably. Yeah,
And
that
I've
was
watched-
that was an interesting. That was definitely. I still think, I don't know. As many times as I've seen Val Kilmer, it's hard for me it's hard for me to appreciate anything he did after Tombstone, because Tombstone was like, I mean,
Mhm.
he literally owned that movie. You remember
That's
that,
what I
right?
hear. I don't think I ever watched it. I don't think I've ever seen Tombstone.
I mean, there
Somebody
really
was
wasn't a
saying it was
movie.
iconic. It was iconic to them. Who in the corner was saying it was like, oh, it was Grimm. I think it was
Yeah,
Grimm who said
Tombstone.
somewhere. Yeah.
You can't put it. He likes Deadwood too, I think. Or no, you like Deadwood. You're a Deadwood
I respect.
man.
I like. Yeah. I can't. It's always hard to talk about a series like Deadwood and say you like it or enjoy it, but it's like, yeah, it's powerful, and I love it at a certain level, but it's also very dark, and yeah. Yes.
Yeah, but Tombstone was. I mean, I remember when I was younger, I memorized all of his lines. And the way he said it, it was like it's not his normal voice, and he was like, he just played the part, man.
He played Doc Holliday, right? No.
Yeah.
And Grimm said it was formative. I think, isn't that the word he used? Describe its
Yeah,
impact on him.
I don't know, but I can relate to that for sure if that's what he said. Yeah, I own that movie. How many movies do you actually own? Like,
Yeah.
I actually own that movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the first movies I bought when I trying out the iPhone movie owning thing, where you own it in the cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like I had to choose a movie, and I'm like, that's the movie I want to definitely have in my pocket.
Okay. I'll have to get around to it someday. I've seen so many clips of it. Yeah. I like
that's
I got
WB.
ruined. The Western was ruined for me by Cormac McCarthy. And in his novel Blood Meridian. And I kind of can't see past it anymore. He's like he perfected the genre and then made it impossible to reproduce without somehow being without lying or being sentimental. I mean, I think, although Deadwood probably comes the closest, because Deadwood is after Blood Meridian, I'm pretty sure. Yes, I'm absolutely certain. Blood Meridian is like in the 90s, but Deadwood is, I don't know if the creator of Deadwood probably read everything. He's one of those guys. So he almost certainly was familiar with it, with Blood Meridian. But if you ever read Blood Meridian, that's another one that'll stick with you. That's, to me, that is probably an American epic that is Homeric in scope, and
they never did a movie of it, I guess.
There's always been talk. Somebody owns the rights somewhere, but it's always rumored to be on the verge of going into production, and yet it never does. And I don't know if I'd want to see it.
I was gonna say, if it was that good, it's kind of like the Odyssey. I mean, if you're presented a project like that, it's like, man, like there's only going to be a certain amount of people that are going to have the balls to try to do it. You know, like I could
Yeah.
see it being so intimidating. You know, the pressure, because it was such a long waited. I mean, people wanted that movie told for so long. Troy was the closest they got, and they didn't get it. And then there was a recent movie, I think it's called The Return or something, but it was like the story of Odysseus actually showing up home, and the whole bow and arrow thing. And that was a great movie. I liked it. The way they built it up, and the drama felt real, and the slaughter of the suitors and all that stuff. It was I
Well,
thought
do
it was a
you
good
think
movie.
Christopher Nolan was it even in the cards at all remotely possible for him to have created a movie that would have satisfied a majority of the audience? I don't know if he's kind of it's very much a split decision from what I can tell, but
I mean, I'm kind of realizing how screwed up I am after listening to Kale, because they really went into all of his other movies, and I realized that they had this game. Like, he's always played games with memory, and like, basically it seems like all of his stories have a similar undertone, you know.
that's true.
Yeah,
His
Brother,
first
We're
movie
Out
was
though.
Memento. Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. That nobody's talking
Okay.
about that. I mean, Williams, the first one I've seen bring up.
No, but
Oh, brother,
that
where art
was
thou?
that was an awesome one. But I forget, what was the allegory behind that. I forget.
It's the Odyssey. It's a
It
retelling of
is
the
the
Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Hmm.
Okay. That's right. That's right.
But it's
Yeah, the sirens, the
mhm.
women at the river. Yeah, I forgot.
But there's too much. Maybe it's too much comedy or something. There's that people
Well,
don't think
yeah, I
of
mean,
it.
I get. Well, but you also had actors like George Clooney. That was like the first time he did played a goofy part.
Hmm.
Like, for the most part, he was always playing these serious roles. You know, he didn't. And then he started doing a lot of them, like the scapegoat one, and the I forget what the other one. Like, he does a lot of like goofy movies like that now.
Hmm.
But yeah,
I used to watch movies. I was in the movie theater every weekend as a kid. Teenager, young adult. Wife and I used to go to movies even when we were younger, a lot more. I can count on one hand the number of movies I see a year in a theater. You know, just before COVID, I was starting to go back to the theater and watch cinema, watch movie theaters, watch movies with the family. But even then, it wasn't invested like I used to be. I used to stay on top of it. I was I was a geeky teenager who'd watch Siskel and Ebert and try to keep up on the reviews, and you'd sit around and you'd talk about movies that you watched with friends, and or even if you didn't watch them together, you may discuss them afterwards. I I've just there aren't I've not been impacted by a movie, dare I say, in decades at that level. It could
that's a
be.
good point. You remember? I mean, if you go far enough back, I mean, I remember as a kid, you know, you'd be watching a horror movie, and everybody in the audience would be yelling, "No, don't go in!" Or, you know, the hero would finally conquer the, like, Jason in Friday the 13th, and the whole audience would cheer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and I was thinking to myself, outside of Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? It started dwindling pretty fast. And then the last time I was at a movie that I could tell there were so many people emotionally affected by it was the Passion of the Christ. Like, I remember going to it and the credits, everything went. They sat through the credits. Nobody got up,
Mm.
and everybody just sat there. And the lights come on, and a couple people left, but it was like this. I mean, it's just crazy when you think
Well,
about it.
Scorsese's brilliant, and then he took on Passion. I know it was controversial. It was protested by people who never watched it. But
Who? Mel Gibson, you mean?
oh, you're talking about Gibson's, not okay. You're talking about
Yeah.
Gibson's.
Yeah.
Gibson's Passion. I was thinking, okay,
Yeah.
let me look. Oh, let's see. I'm thinking of the Scorsese movie about Jesus. You're talking about
Yeah,
Gibson's.
he-
Yes, that
yeah,
was a
he
real. Yeah, it was that was notorious for its explicit violence.
realism. Yeah, and what it was he had
And
this special way. He had this special way that every time the violence was feeling like, he'd do a flashback into his mother, or so like he would break the violence away with these beautiful other images, and it was
Okay.
like this connection between, you know what I mean, like the connection that he was making between the love when he was alive and the love that he's going through for us, you know what I mean,
Gotcha.
that type of thing. So there was this weird play that I don't know if I guess he's doing the resurrection 2 parts. He's going to do 2 movies. I don't really think that's going to work. I feel like it's going to be so hard to compete with what he did. I mean, I'm glad
what would
he's
he
doing
do?
it.
What would be his follow up?
See, to me, I feel like you'd have to talk. You have to be doing the Book of Acts, right?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. It's almost like what and the what's the new hot series around Jesus's life? The Chosen. It seems like, to me, I'm thinking, is The Chosen going to continue with the Book of Acts? They easily could.
Yeah, I thought that they introduced. They already introduced Luke. They already introduced. I think they introduced Paul, didn't they?
See, I've not seen any. I've not watched it. I've missed several seasons now. They kind of. I have a love-hate relationship with it. So I kind of drifted off from it. But there are parts of it I admire very much, and then there are other parts that just kind of, a little cringy
I would
for
have
me.
well, so I would have to say, like, I understand they're trying to. So the Bible has so many characters,
Sure.
and they're not all interconnected. The way
Right.
that the Chosen is interconnecting these characters. So they do character development, and then they try to hold the characters as long as they can, which is fine. That's artistic license. I get it.
They just do
But
some they make some goofy just choices, like when they are the lead up, the way they made the Sermon on the Mount, they made it into they've created a stage for Jesus to stand up on and they're handwriting out promotional pamphlets or flyers, so to speak, what we call flyers for the promote the Jesus's big Sermon on the Mount. And this is for it's not a literate culture. I mean, most people will not. And it just cracked me up that they're it.
But
it's
I
just,
will say this.
It's so American. It was so American.
I'm with you 100%. That whole thing didn't make much sense to me. But it's like I'm trying to imagine and envision the disciples actually see, like, the whole narrative that they're playing with is that the disciples are on this mission to get his message out there. So like they're part of this mission to get his message out there. So it's like they're very zealous in this whole thing. And clearly some of them see him as this, the messianic figure, as being this conquering leader. And like he hadn't yet broke the news to them that it's not how this is going to be. And he keeps trying to tell them, and keeps trying to, so he's playing with the narrative of what Jesus was doing. So it's like, well, how would the disciples have been? Would they have been like these, meek and mild guys that just were following him around, and naturally a bunch of people showed up at the Sermon on the Mount and it happened, spontaneously? Maybe,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
It
but
was just a funny thing. It was just cracked me
you're
up
right.
that
You're right. How
nobody's
about how about how about what color should I wear? Blue or red?
but maybe maybe that was just comedy and I missed the comedy. So that's, I mean,
Yeah.
um and well, I got in trouble. What was I? It was but in the chat, one of the chats. Um, you know, there's a big. I know it's been discussed a lot that about Jesus laughing is a fairly controversial idea in the corner for some folks. But my attitude tends to be, if Jesus wept, and the actual implication of the text is he wept unconsolably, right? So if he sobbed in a very inconsolable way, I'm guessing he most certainly laughed. And
Yeah.
and to be human is to do both. And if you
It
don't
is
think he's
funny how
human, you're a heretic.
what do you what do you think about his jokes in there?
In the Chosen,
Yeah.
I'm not
Some
fluent.
of
I
them are
can't. None come up to mind real quick. I don't.
I think he said something about, like, he was making fun of one of the disciples can't dance.
Oh, okay, sure.
Or
Why not?
no, maybe it was one of his friends, but I'm thinking, like really, would Jesus be picking on somebody? Maybe,
Teasing.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's
Um,
impossible to say. Although he was obviously a charismatic person,
yeah.
people people wanted to be around him and follow him, and that's another thing too about,
Do
I
you
mean,
think
I don't.
so? Do you think he was charismatic? I kind of wonder. I often wonder if the
How many
literal
how
Holy
many how
Spirit
many
was just exuding out of him, and that, you know what I mean? Like there was weird natural attraction to him, and that, because charismatics typically have bombastic personalities, usually, is how I interpret when you say charismatic, like
Mhm.
personality. And I don't see him being bombastic.
Well, um, bombastic is a interesting word, but I don't know if you quite say bombastic. But his confrontations with the Pharisees are certainly bold and beyond his class. The fact that
Sure.
he seems very much at ease with Pilate. I mean, even though he's at trial with him, he's he's unfazed by Herod in person or at a distance. Go tell that fox.
Maybe he was just a badass like that.
But that's a that produces charisma as well. I mean, just I don't know if it probably wouldn't be quite right to call it swagger, but there is a fearlessness, and fearlessness. What creates charisma?
Yeah.
What makes a person attractive and interesting and worth following?
No, I'm
And
tracking what you're visioning now.
yeah, he certainly
I'm
had
tracking.
components to his personality that, well, and the fact that we're still talking about him.
The fact that
I
he
mean,
trusted the Father to the level that he trusted, like there's been people. This is how people follow people. Like you were talking about, personalities. Like when somebody is so committed to something,
mhm.
there's like this leadership quality that is just naturally inherent in them, and he clearly is a leader. Yeah, that's interesting.
But and a leader different than, say, Peter's a leader. Peter's clearly a leader of the disciples. but he's also very quickly put into his place by Jesus. So there's
A lot of, it's funny, depending on the gospel, right? Like so they say Mark was authoring Peter's gospel. That's the story. And it's, you can tell by the way, right? So like Peter, like failing at having enough faith to walk on water because he starts to sink, but he did step out.
right,
Um, um,
bold,
saying,
reckless.
yeah, where he says, you will not die over my dead body, and he's like, get behind me, Satan. You know what I mean? Like, so like he has these put in your place moments, and then you know we would never leave you, Jesus. You're gonna deny me 3 times before the cock crows. You know what I mean? It's like, and
Yeah, and
then
Jesus doesn't waver. That's the thing, I think. Well, there's a couple. I mean, I'm looking at the narratives. All you can do is look at the narratives, and
sure,
um, they pretty consistently say Mark is, say, the most human Jesus, and the most theologically, I think you would say, the most theologically unforced. That is to say, we don't. It's
I
still.
think it was because it was the first one. I think it was short and to the point. That's
Mhm.
why it's the
They're
shortest
trying to
gospel.
tell the story. They're just trying to tell
Get
the
get it
story of a
get it out.
life. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And
And it's
John
that.
was way more eloquent and playing with things, and
Well, by then
Luke
it's
was more
heavily
matter
influenced
of
by Greek
fact.
philosophy. Yeah, yeah. It's just a. It feels like of all the 4 gospels, um, Mark has the least to prove in a sense. I'm just going to tell you who Jesus is, and that's going to be enough. Everyone else after that is trying to control him a little bit to one way or another to
Well, they
answer a
both
challenge of the time, right? So by John's time, you need a,
maybe.
and that might be what's going on. We don't know. But consistent across all of them is my point being is the consistent across all of them is there's this unwavering strength in Jesus that, and he faces off with crowds, he faces off with kings, he faces off with judges like Pilate and execution. He never wavers. I mean, he just doesn't. The most,
Yeah,
and in Mark, the only closest thing to wavering you get is my God, why have you forsaken me? But that itself is a very um, theologically complex and pregnant passage that you could write books on, and um,
someone
so
did.
it's many have been. So it's
That's my favorite. That was my favorite entry point, and it's ironic because we were talking about the Passion. Um, I did this Bible trip. I did a trip with church people,
mhm.
and we were going to go skiing, right? And we were in one of the lodges, and we were going to do a Bible study night, and it was literally on the week after the Passion had come out. And so they decided to use this as a topic of discussion. And so they asked us to go around and say, what was the most impactful moment for you, right? And that was my moment. And I said, and this is how I exegeted the text in my very new Christian mind. I said, this was the moment that I realized God finally, this was the last human thing he could possibly do, was to show doubt. And it made me feel so good that even Jesus doubted. And they just moved right along,
Yeah.
like no comment, and I didn't really know why they didn't like think that that was interesting that I had said that. Well, now that I've, been studying and stuff, like I had no idea about
You've
Psalm
been
22.
assimilated.
No,
Well, that's
Psalm
everyone.
22.
Yeah, Psalm 22. That's I've gotten into this debate on a Signal chat, and the lads were all pointing to Psalm 22, saying it's all a hyperlink. This is using modern language. It's
Yeah,
we used
yeah.
to call it a biblical reference. Now we called a hyperlink.
No, but here's why, Mark. Here's why. Think about it.
Mhm.
If you and your wife, you guys have things that you could say to each other in public that would be very short sentences
Mhm.
that would mean so much more, and no one else would understand what you were talking about.
Mhm.
It's like this little code
Yeah.
sentence that means so much deeper of love or a moment in time or whatever.
Mhm.
And that's what that was, because when he quoted that line, what they mean by the hyperlink is it literally, you had Jews you obviously had Jews there weeping for the fact that he was dying, so like there were his people were there, and he throws out the first line of Psalm 22.
Mhm.
And the rest of that psalm is literally the prophecy of everything that he had gone through at that moment. They were gambling on his clothes. They were, piercing his side. The whole thing was like he was basically saying, this is it. And like, it's kind of like this. If I were there and I was a Jew and I heard him quote that, and I know the Psalms by heart,
Mhm.
because they sing them, they would sing them on the ascent to Jerusalem,
Sure.
and so like it would be like this hidden thing to a group that's going to hear that and know that whole psalm and realize, like, within like moments what
Mhm.
really was going on,
Yeah.
and
No,
don't you find
did
that
you say
fascinating?
probably less so than what you're expressing. I'm not against it. Welcome. Am I driving?
Hey, Scott.
Hey.
Let me just deal with
Oh,
this.
is B there?
Oh,
Hey,
so who?
IRL in
oh,
action.
Mm-hmm.
So who's here? What's going on?
This is B, Megan. Just
Megan. Hello,
seeking
Megan.
genuine.
I don't
This
think we've
is
met, have we, Megan? Have we met?
I don't think we've spoken, Mark. No.
Okay.
This is the
Welcome.
part of the morning crew bubble.
I recognize the faces. Yes, I know. This is part of the whole morning scene. So this is Am I Driving After Dark? Almost. Actually, it's still,
With one
sunset.
How's everything going? You guys having a good time or what?
Yeah. No,
Ni-
it's glad to have popped this cherry.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
We're
poor
both our
analogy,
first.
probably.
Deeply
Yeah, we're
disturbed.
the first IRL meetups for the both of us.
Okay, so you're okay. Because I am. You guys are friends, not couple.
Correct.
Right.
The couple's over there.
Okay.
Like, no.
Okay.
You
See,
want to
when
be
you're-
on? Okay.
When you're flying blind on the internet, you can infer anything. Just
Yeah.
so yeah. Okay.
That's awesome. When are you driving down to see your parents, Megan?
I'll be stopping in Savannah tomorrow because I love Savannah so much, and I also want to play some disc golf and I don't know, just stay in a historic building, and then I'll go Monday morning down to St. Augustine for my family, and then I'll see you,
Cool.
Brett. Then we can do this in
Yeah.
another level.
Yeah, that's cool. Hit me up for sure. It's going to be awesome. I was trying to think. I was like, what would be good to make food wise? What did you eat over there? What'd you guys do? What'd you cook?
Stuffed peppers.
That's right, stuffed peppers. Nice.
They were very good. They lived up to the hype. I'll say that.
That's awesome.
We just saw you were on. We finished up. We had a little chat with the wife.
An estuary.
Nice.
We had an estuary.
Nice. That's awesome.
Getting ready to head to bed. Thought we'd pop in and say hi.
Well,
Cool,
thanks
man.
for coming on. So, any opinions
awesome.
on Psalm 22?
Yeah, Psalm 22. We were talking about that.
Brett is trying to sway me over to the Reformed position on the subject.
Oh no.
The Reformed evangelical position. because I think you have to do a couple things with that. I mean, I see your point. But if it's just if it's a literary coded reference, I think I also want to deal with the literal consequences of the words themselves. I think you can have both. Like I think you can have his kind of exhausted expression on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? As a prayer, but also having it mean something in a very literal sense. In fact, if it isn't literally true, then we're almost calling Jesus lying. I mean, we're almost calling him a liar by saying he's not. He's just. Oh, so you're just messing with us. You're just sending us. You're not telling the truth. Was he actually telling the truth when he said that?
Well,
And I
how would he have been lying if he was quoting the Psalms? If he was pointing to something larger, wouldn't it be the only excuse to him not being a liar? Because I mean, really, would he have
But what are
would
the
he have
what's I'm
felt?
just saying though, can you grapple with the consequences of the meaning of the words? Plus, how did he say it? Did he say it in Hebrew? Did he say it in Aramaic? He may
No,
have even
he said it in it was in
Aramaic.
Hebrew. No, in Hebrew, because the
They're
Bible.
confused, remember? The audience is confused. They're not sure what he's there's a passage where they say, "Oh, he's crying out to Elijah to save him." They're
Yeah,
confused
so
by they don't know what he's saying.
yeah.
Some hear it. Obviously,
What
the
language did Jesus say, "My Lord, why have you
we're
forsaken
appealing
me?"
to
And
the AI overlord.
no,
I
I'm doing this in
Scott, you have an
Logos.
opinion. I can tell you have an opinion.
I just usually land on it's usually but and both, or however the saying goes.
Yes, no, this
Probably
is
both.
it. In Matthew and Mark, they quoted it in the Hebrew. Eli, Eli, lemi sabachthani, which is Hebrew. It's not Greek. Yeah, it says this was the common spoken language for first century Palestine, distinct from Hebrew. The language was Jewish
Aramaic.
scripture.
No, yeah, it's
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It was Aramaic. Yep. Sorry guys, you guys going to bed?
Yeah, we're getting ready to, but I want to look at Psalms 22 real quick. Because
It's
I
a
mean,
it's a great song.
the way you framed it, Mark, I would generally say that's probably how my brain works.
When you read that psalm, the whole psalm, you realize he probably is doing two things. He's probably hyperlinking the whole psalm for everybody, right? But he's also doing something else. He's also literally all right, now this is the reform part, right? My God, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's like this moment where finally the sky turns black. God is literally his punishment and wrath that we are supposed to receive is falling on him. And this is the moment. Like, so the bigger meaning you're talking about, I feel is a twofold. It's a hyperlink message for the people that know the psalm, but it's also something larger, like with this whole, wrath of God thing, you know, because, now that's more commentary. Like I've read that in commentary before, but Psalm
See,
22
I think
is part of the
the
prophecies.
problem I have with the Psalm 22 strict. I mean, if you're saying that's all there is to it, right? I mean, some people that say that's all they want to hear. That's all they want to apply to the passage is he's referencing Psalm 22 from the cross. That to me seems like an argument for a textual interposition of the story. That is that seems to me like a literary device, a artifice of the writers of
Well, let me ask
the
you this:
gospel, and that makes me
Do you
nervous.
think?
See, I rather
Do
think
you
of it
think?
as a literal
Do you,
historical passage.
I got it. I got it. But do you think he rode in to Jerusalem on a donkey?
Well, I would. Do I think? I read the story as it's said, and I think he did. All right. I mean, that's how I
So
read the
like
story. I accept it,
he
but I
yeah,
also know
yeah.
what he's.
He
I think he
literally
knows what he's doing when he does it. He knows.
right.
He's
Yeah, yeah.
he's
He had
he's
to
he's
fulfill all of
he's
that.
portraying a part.
Yeah,
For
but he all these were prophecies from the Old Testament. So he is literally fulfilling all of these prophecies as he's doing them.
Mhm.
Now you could argue maybe he's doing it on purpose. Maybe he's deliberately fulfilling all these prophecies and he knows exactly what he's doing. But the whole healing the blind, raising the dead, that's part of the messianic prophecies too. So like
Mhm.
this whole narrative, he's doing things that human beings don't do. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's raising people from the dead. I mean, except the bones
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
desert.
Yeah, the
But
problem is
anyway, I
until you
mean,
go, yeah, until you go to a place like India where you find gurus doing all kinds of things. I mean, it's like,
raising people from the dead.
oh yeah, you'll see that stuff going on too. I mean, not saying I don't know if I don't believe any of it. I'm just saying that you'll see claims are made about people. See, I guess I'm one of okay. This is back to what we go. I guess we're going to veer into defining what the gospel is and why you follow Jesus. You know, why do I love Jesus? Do I, you know, and so when I think of reasons to follow Jesus, I don't think of the miracles as a reason to follow Jesus because anybody can, it can all be a parlor trick.
Okay.
I'm more interested in, I follow Jesus because of the Sermon on the Mount. I follow Jesus
The
because
perfect life.
he has a completely upside down vision of the world. That's the only way to make the world anew. And it's the only doing, playing, trying to reform the world according to the world's rules is a guaranteed path to failure, right? It's just more of the same. Old boss, same as the new boss, same as the old boss. You're going to get nothing from it. But Jesus's vision, Jesus's life, Jesus' example, Jesus's sacrifice is counterintuitive across the board. In fact, the story is a reason not to follow him, which is why I love him. I mean, by worldly standards.
It is. It's an absurd story. It's
And
like
you
when Paul said, we would be lunatics.
yes, without the resurrection, we're to be pitied if there's no resurrection. It's
Yeah.
extraordinary, but it is the only life that I can imagine that could actually result in resurrection. So you follow him to the cross, you realize what he realizes, and he doesn't go to the cross so I don't have to go to the cross. He goes to the cross to show me how to go to the cross. And I follow him. I follow him to the cross, then I follow him down to hell, and I rise up. I follow him to the resurrection. I follow him to the ascension. I follow him wherever he goes. Where are you? You know, are you to abandon me also? And what do the apostles say? The disciples, they say, well, who else has the words of life? We're going nowhere. That's why we're sticking with you. You have the words of life. That to me is the whole. That's part. But I've talked too much, Scott. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would make it a little bit more concise and say I love him because he first loved me. That whole arc of the story is him proving his love for me. And so I do my best to try to love him back. No matter how often I fall short, I'm still going to keep trying. Because every time I fall short, it's a death. and then I get resurrected. Because the wages of sin are death, and so every single time I die, I try to raise back up after traveling through hell, because sin causes death and hell, and then I try to ascend back up, because he did.
Yeah, I mean, I've always struggled with that kind of personal view. It's not. But before you even came on, I've already expressed my difficulty with being concise. So
Yeah, sure. It's
I'm
hard to be
sympathetic.
concise with this. That's why he
I'm
said everything in
sympathetic with
parables.
your,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I think earlier we mentioned, or I mentioned that it, you know, I was at a funeral today, and the minister had a very simplistic view of salvation, the gospel, that I found off-putting, and of course he preceded it with an attack on Catholics, and
Yeah, that's
in addition to being just in poor taste, it was just too simple for me. And to me, it's like I don't read the gospel. I mean, it's important to note that the four narratives that tell the story of Jesus are all called gospels, and they can't, none of them can be easily summarized in a sentence or two. Mark S. made his attempt, and he made a valiant effort at it, but
he gave you a Protestant answer.
yeah.
Well, I mean, Christ was concise in saying, love your God with all your heart and love your neighbor. I mean, that was
wasn't he
his
quoting?
summation.
He was quoting. Was he quoting Hillel? Possibly. I'm trying to remember for sure. We don't have our corner Jews here to get me correct on that, but I don't think that was original to Jesus.
Jesus,
but it's a sentiment I agree
love your
with. I don't
neighbor,
disagree
love
with it. I'm
God.
just saying
Yeah.
I don't.
Was that in the Old Testament?
No, I think you're right. I think it's and we
I
talked
will
about
say
whole.
this.
Go ahead.
The first three commandments are loving God, and then the rest of them are loving your neighbor. So, but yeah, it's in the commandments, it says, and so it's in
The golden rule. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
thinking the
but
golden rule is Hillel. Isn't that correct?
well,
It's getting late, and I've been at this now for 3 hours,
I
so I'm
saw
getting
that,
foggy.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unusual for me to go even. I can be wordy but this is pretty long for me.
Well, I'm kind of sorry I missed it, but I'm kind of not because of what we're doing. But
Yeah, it sounds like
you're having fun.
Yeah. So
That's good. That's good.
Are you guys going to be on in the morning at all? Has anybody
So
got
that was
plans for
one
that?
reason why I jumped on real quick is because we're still up. I was wondering if you had plans or whether we should do it. We
Yeah,
were
I don't
kind of
mind.
talking about whether or not we'd do something. So
Yeah, maybe I'll start a stream and then you guys can pop in if you want, whatever. Olson if he wants. I mean, unless Olson wants to do one.
Is anybody concerned, by the way, that Chris Howard didn't do a live stream this morning?
Yeah,
he actually mentioned.
He
actually mentioned that the day before
so he's okay?
he mentioned it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think
don't
it might
catch him
be
all the
2
time.
days if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
I
Now,
thought.
how do you guys work out the
say
timing
maybe.
of that? So you don't, or do you not worry about overlapping at this point?
It depends on the conversation.
Yeah, I would say first
it's a
order of
super
business
heavy-
is to be off, and then
Yeah.
but if the conversation goes, he's kind of given us the okay to run him over.
I mean, you're free to do what you want. I don't. But it's funny. He's
We
just
try not to though.
But his thing was he did that. He chugged along with 1 or 2 viewers for a solid year, and now he's got consistently one of the. I mean, among the best performing live streams in the corner. It's hysterical. Slow and steady wins the race. I mean, it's so funny.
God's
And
time,
you guys
not
are
our
doing really
time.
well too in the morning. The whole morning crew is like killing it.
No, we
So
have
much
fun.
so you've
That's,
crowded out Luke Thompson. I haven't seen hide nor hair of Luke.
no,
But I
Luke's
haven't been on that
window
much
is
either.
yeah, he's like 11 o'clock. He always screwed me because I would be working and I could never get on his stream.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
Well, guys, God bless.
good night.
See you, brother.
Have
Yeah.
a good night. Thanks for hopping in.
Yep.
And have a good time.
All right. Thanks.
Brett, thank you.
Well, thanks for pushing. Thanks for allowing me to play.
No, it's fun.
Hope I wasn't.
I know
too
we come from
forceful. That
things. I
wasn't.
mean, we approach things from a different perspective, but it's good to play, to discuss.
Watch
So I appreciate you
Tombstone.
coming in. Watch Tombstone. Yeah, I will. I'm going to have to try to fit that in and check it out. And Kurt Russell was still on the young side there. He was in that movie, wasn't he? That's like a 30-year-old movie, isn't it?
Yeah, Bill Paxton. Who else was in that? Oh, what's the guy from The Big Lebowski? The old dude, the old guy.
Okay.
He's the old Sam.
Oh, Sam Waterston?
Yes.
No, is it?
He's the guy. Yeah, he always plays the cowboy or whatever.
Okay.
He was the biker dad in Mask. Remember the movie Mask?
No, I don't remember that
With
one. I don't think I saw it.
Cher was the mother,
Okay.
and he was the biker dad, and Mask was the crazy. Remember the kid that had the deformed face?
All right, I'm
surprised you haven't watched
fading.
that.
I'm fading. Yeah,
All right,
I know.
buddy.
Let's
I'll talk
have a
to you
good
later.
night. Take care of yourself. All right, let's just call it. Everybody have a good night. God bless.